Hello there, ladies, gentlemen, and unicorns. Welcome to another Pixel Prophecy weekend stream. And congratulations, Frank, as always, as often, on winning the quiz, followed by a close second with Limbonaut with 64% of the questions correct. And Cursibu is also here, coming in at bronze, but 100% of the questions correct. So it looks like, Cursi, you only waited when you knew the answer, or either that or you just always guessed super correctly. Hello everyone, how was your week? How was your day? And since you asked me how my day was by just simply being here, I was today was one of those days, do you know it, when you wake up and you feel like it was probably the worst time, the worst like 10 minutes of your sleeping cycle to be woken up. And this was it for me. It felt like I wasn't awake for most of the day. Then I took a nap, and here I am. I just awoke 20 minutes ago from my nap. Still have my evening coffee. I know now why zombies shuffle around and moan, because I mean, it feels like today for me also, I've just been dead and just woken up from the dead. It's like, and that's exactly how I feel. So today might not be a super animated stream for me, despite having, this is my third coffee today. It's crazy. Let's all have a sip of coffee. No, I'm fine. I just, like I said, the alarm clock sniped me pretty badly today. Let's see. DC says, nice to have a relaxing stream after a day of studying. Oh, what are you studying? Are you will you share? You don't have to. No pressure. So I hope I have some Pixel Bob Rossi good vibes for all of you. I'm as last time. Was it like from two different people I heard? I had some Bob Ross for game dev feelings, vibes, and this again made me super happy. So I will try to lean into this, and we can beat the devil out of the bugs. Cool, and I'm still gaining more and more people who are just want to follow me, because I'm such a cool guy. Especially when does anyone ever click these buy followers links? What are followers who aren't interested in any of what you're doing anyway? So no, I'm much more content with much less followers, but those that I know and love. DC says, nice to have a relaxing stream after a day of studying. Kirsty says, played safe this time, in the mood for a Phil stream. That's wonderful. I hope I can deliver today. As you can see, the unicorns are spread out today. We have here Big Ashley making sure that the wonderful Steam Deck is not being used, and we have Dark Ashley here making sure that the keyboard is equally not in use. Commander Stitch is also here at a wedding for my sister. And you found time to drop by. This is so nice, and congratulations to your sister. And I hope, all the best for the wedding. And I hope everyone involved has a great time there. Thank you so much for dropping by. That's nice. And Neural Disease says, just warming up on some math before I start my masters. I'm terrified. Wow, this is congratulations on starting your masters in math. I always say it like crystal meth. So yeah, this. Maybe there's a joke in there somewhere that when mathematics crystallizes something, it's cool because it's blue, bitch. There must be a joke in there somewhere. But so cool that you're starting then for a master's degree. Kirsty knows this, where I said very bad and terrible things about mathematics. Not because math is not cool. It's more like I'm unworthy. The good thing is, with basic trigonometry, so far served me very well. I mean, the most advanced things that I've come across are the sine and cosine and that sort of things. So when we're doing some sort of vector calculations, as long as it's in 2D, I'm kind of good. I've heard of things like dot product and cross product and and face normals, and I'm just so glad that I don't, at least for now, that I don't have to deal with this, because it, for some reason, mathematics at a certain point it just surpasses my capacity, which is funny because people tell me, but hey, you program, so you must be a math genius. And I said, yeah, programming and mathematics are two different things. It's like if you're good at Sudoku, you don't necessarily are also good at crossword puzzles, but both have this grid. Again, maybe there's an analogy in there that works better, but hopefully you know what I mean. So I'm always impressed when people say, yeah, they do mathematics for fun because it's they're just so used to it and enjoy it. So congratulations already. I'm as we say in German, I'm squeezing my thumbs, which is the fingers crossed equivalent. Frank says, I'm sure some people click on that. Apparently, I mean, otherwise, if that's the thing with spam, right? It doesn't cost you a lot. And if you can spam a million computers, people, whatever, chances are that guaranteed, at least if you spam a million, there's at least one click you get back. And I mean, depends on how much you spend on it. So one click, 10 clicks might even be enough for you that it works out. So I think this is why we all have to endure spam. See also Nigerian prince emails. Yeah, I've joked that economy is so bad that I thought about mailing to people in Nigeria claiming that I'm a European prince or something. Kirsty says, is it a stream? Yeah. Is there a fill? I think so. All seems good to me. This is so nice. Thank you. Yes, I think we have the basics covered. From then on, we will see where we sail. Commander Stitch says Thai, which I think means thank you. And DC says, it's a God checklist for life. Oh, is it a God or just a good checklist for life? Thank you so much. Like I said, I'm just hashtag blessed with such nice people who are here and enjoying, hopefully, fingers crossed, my streams. Good, but I can spell. No, it's not you. It's the darn keyboard. Always blame the controller. This is what I've learned from playing competitive. I don't know, Deltarune. Playing Deltarune competitively. Right, so let me switch over to my big old murder board that is still my unfinished text game. And yeah, things have been progressing gradually. The biggest thing is that I had on my to-do list is writing out the endings, because when the dust had settled, I settled on, this word repetition, that's bad. I settled on 6 different endings, and of course I had to write them all out, and they all had to make sense, which they don't quite for now. So not in terms of motivation for characters and player motivation, so that you also feel like, yeah, this is the ending that you were that you deserve, so to speak. So I completely underestimated that writing 6 different endings depending on your choices was a bit more work than anticipated. But hey, this is game dev. We don't do things because they're easy, but because we think they are easy. And this is why I'm here. Commander Stitch says, yep, great, wonderful, Commander Stitch, wonderful. So yes, as for the ending, this is the big showdown conversation that we have. And here from this point on, it starts going to the ending. So I thought, how much could this be? It's not implemented yet, but let me quickly show you here for endings. I already have a 19 kilobyte large file that this here just spells out the endings. And by the way, this is, again, I showed this last time. I don't know if all or at least some of you were here. I think, Frank, you were here, right? With my custom text markup. So essentially I just have here something where I call a text that I .fill text, and Notepad++ is kind enough to to just style the markup as such that I can. This is the most important thing that I've learned when I was writing scripts or anything, is that I want to have certain blocks of text, or where I can have alternative blocks of text that I can just open and collapse, expand and collapse like parentheses section in programming. And it took me many years until as you can see here, I thought, you know what? Why not make use of different language features here in Notepad++? So essentially, it's just a markup language. So I only have here my fill text, and the cool thing about this is exactly as I said, that I can collapse things here. For example, where I have different endings, and then things just get highlighted depending on what is important for me. And if, for example, something starts with 3 dashes, it becomes some sort of a section break and becomes yellow. If something is in square brackets, it becomes such as a note. And if I write to do or fix or hack or any of these kinds of words, probably should have zoomed out differently. Yeah, good. It styles text differently. And also, since I like to use, when I'm writing for Twine, I use lots of HTML markup. Yeah, sure, no problem. Just as soon as it starts with a pointy bracket and ends with one different color, and if I have any other kind of code, I just do the 3 apostrophes, or I think it's accus in the just the accent. You know how it goes. It's markup. And the last one I just added is here this dark gray, slightly greenish for any sort of comments. So overall, I don't know why it took me so long to just come up with my own context sensitive syntax highlighting for my own flavor of text, because this is why I finally decided to start writing documentation in this file. As you can see here, it's just for myself. For example, I say save game format additions, or how I do mouse cursors or text boxes, for example, with Twine. This is what I need to be aware of when I'm doing text boxes. So that a text area needs also for example, in this case, when I'm writing on a Steam Deck or something and not with a physical keyboard, it needs something that as soon as you pressed a key, it writes to a variable, and not only when you close the passage for things. And it's all these small things that just keep adding up, as I've realized in game dev. And then after half a year, you start a project again in the same engine, and you go through your old projects, try to figure out what the hell were you thinking, or why is this not working, and then you need to go back and figure things out. And yeah, the older I get, the more I write documentation just for myself to make sure, hey, when FutureFill ever comes across this, for example here, continue from saved game, just that I can make sure that I don't have to reinvent the wheel over and over again. DC says, I've watched a few of these streams now and I still don't understand how Twine works. That's a good question. I can give you a quick primer to Twine, because it is for me for doing these kinds of interactive text things. It used to be a bit, first it was super easy to get into, and as soon as you start doing something with, let's say, the different story formats and the different flavors, it can become a bit crazy, or at least, not crazy is not the right word, cumbersome or complex. So you know what, let's start a new game. We call this test game. And Twine works basically. Nice custom coloring indeed, says Cursibu. Yes, thank you. You probably have noticed with me, I always like my very special kind of orange and this warm sun yellow that is not this super bright yellow, but just leans a little bit towards orange. And this is my favorite color. I said this story before. When I was a kid, I thought that my favorite color was blue, but no, it's yellow. And I can even know by heart the hex code of my signature yellow. That is FFCB00. That's my favorite color. So when people ask you what's your favorite color, just reply with your hex code. So Twine essentially works. So under the hood, it's just JavaScript. Fancy JavaScript that displays different passages, as it's called, and each passage can call another passage. Or for example, let's start here with untitled passage. Or you know what, the first thing is the story format, because that's what I said, that is what is special to Twine, is that you have different story formats, and depending on what story you have different markup and different capabilities. So the standard one is Harlow, that is the easiest to start out with. So essentially you just create a link like in Wikipedia, you just put it in 2 square brackets and it automatically creates a new passage that you can go to. I like to work with SugarCube because it's the closest to a fully fledged programming language, because it has different macros for even for audio and safe handling and so on. So this is why I started with SugarCube. But essentially it works like this. So let's make this a bit bigger. So this is, we have here our passage. This little rocket ship means we start on this passage, and there I can say where would you like to go, and then you can say north or south, yeah. And so I put this in square brackets, and automatically it created here new passages for north and south. So when I hit play, it starts up my browser. Where is it? There it is. It started up my browser, and this is already how it looks like. It has the sidebar. I already have here the save system built in. I can restart my story, and I can say here go north, return, or go south. And this at its very basic, this is how Twine works. Of course, you can do certain things like programming, like programmers would expect. For example, you can have a passage that runs when you initialize things, or you can call other passages. For example, what was it? Was it include? My typing's today is super messed up, but you know what, we don't have to include. So with SugarCube, anything that is between those 2 square pointy brackets, there are certain macros. For example, if I want to set a variable, I can say set preferred, oh, it needs to have a $sign, preferred direction to nothing. And essentially it's the same thing as you could write in JavaScript. So you can say set state.variables.preferred direction to nothing. And that's essentially the same thing here in SugarCube. And for example, when I say I want to go to north, instead of linking directly to north, I can say let's make a link. And the link is titled north, and the passage it links to is, let's make this passage north, and in this case it doesn't create a new passage, so I can call this passage here passage north. Welcome to the North Pole. So this is our passage north that we just named here, and in the link we say the link is titled north, it leads to passage north, and whatever is now between those 2 brackets, those 2 tags, is run as code. For example, I can say set preferred direction, I probably should have spelled this correctly, set preferred direction to north. And then we head to north. So when we are here in this passage north, welcome to the North Pole. Your favorite direction is, and now I can just do it a bit like with PHP. I can just hit here the equal sign and then the name of the variable that is preferred direction. And if we run this, it opens up again in a new browser window. So where would you like to go? North, north, or south? Why is there twice north? Well, if you look here at our starting passage, I have here my link that's north, that goes to passage north, and then just the other links that go to north and south. So we're clicking the link, the first one that goes to passage north. So this would be this one here. And then it says, welcome to the North Pole. Your favorite direction is north. And this at its heart is how Twine, and in this case Sugar Cube for Twine, works. And all the things that are being displayed here, everything is essentially turn-based. So as I've mentioned before, those little stubs here of text that you can write are called passages, and with each transition to a passage, a certain order of functions is called. So the function, the passage header, the passage body, then is the passage done before it's being rendered. So you can inject some custom not PHP, CSS, or some custom JavaScript there, and essentially from these building blocks you can start doing crazy things like these. For example, you can also have things that run on the sidebar. That is where you have the save and load, and let me show you. It's called the UI bar. I'm always closing it. It's this thing here. Of course, right now it just says text game. You can have there your own buttons, and in my case, it's where my inventory goes. So essentially what I'm doing is I'm just overriding the CSS and the functions that come with Twine, which means a lot of CSS where I just have the attribute of important, so it overrides what is already present in the template. But again, the cool thing about this is the entire game here is this one HTML file. And if you're not using any graphics or something, you can just upload this HTML file and it runs because it has all the JavaScript and all the CSS associated with it in this file. For example, here in the story, there is something that is the JavaScript. So again, I can have here my own JavaScript functions that are packaged in the story. For example, I can say document what can we, let's say addition is a function that takes A and B. And what will it do? Well, it returns the string of A plus B. And thus, when we go here to north, I can also say run, which is just a function, which runs a function. It's the same thing as set, for example, when I do this with variables. So run is just an expression, document, did I call it add or addition? I called it addition, document addition. And then we say, I don't know, 193, sure, by this. And since it returns a string, I think it will just display it here. I'm not sure. We can try this out. So here's my browser. I go to north and nothing here happens. And when I open up the console, I probably get what the issue is. Yeah, I think instead of just running it, I need to print the return value. I think that was it. And this is how you can have your, see, there is the result. This is how you can inject JavaScript wherever you need it. You can even make use of certain events that are triggered. For example, when user saves a game, or when a save game is loaded, and these kinds of events. So again, it's kind of powerful. The same thing with JavaScript is here, that we have here a story style sheet, which also gets packaged into the HTML file. And essentially, I think at its core, that's how you can program and code with Twine. So hopefully this helps. Veneral says that's a nice soothing color. I'm a big fan of FF8370. Oh, this is a bit more subdued. I have to check. And Kirsty says, not sure if it's my favorite color, but I'm fond of 8844DD. I always joke that I know what colors are just from listening or from seeing their hex colors, but I just get a rough idea. But you know what? We can inject some JavaScript here. Where would you like to go? And then we can do the good old span color or style, background color. And then we have background color of Kersey had, what was it? 8844D. I think we can write this. And the foreground color then would be black. And then we say just Kersey's Yeah, my typing, like I said, is messed up. And what else did we have? Disease said, what is it? FF8379. Disease. Okay, now I'm curious what your favorite colors are. Okay, apparently I did something wrong. Why? What did I do here wrong? Oh, I didn't close. I didn't. Classic. There. And here. Okay. Classic HTML. Yeah. Oh, this is nice. Those are two very, very soothing colors. I like this. Is this Twitch purple? And I mean, you know what? These colors in combination, they kind of work very well and look very pleasing. Also there with the blue. You know what? This is a nice combination. Thank you. That's a nice shade too, indeed. Something about very specialized engines like this I quite like, says Disease. Yeah, I have also a fondness for these kinds of things, like the adventure game studio, or what was it, the text adventure design studio. Yeah, because it feels, on one hand, it feels a bit constrained, but as with, I think many of us have this thing, this is why we enjoy programming, is you have a machine with certain rules and certain capabilities, and on its face it's just, as we've seen with Twine, it's just click a text and go to the next. But it offers enough functions that you can get creative with it, and it's this, I feel, this hacker ethos that goes with it, that okay, there is a system, let's tease out whatever we can. And this probably, I haven't researched this, but probably someone made Doom run in Twine, because under the hood Twine is HTML5, which means JavaScript, and of course there is probably Doom running with JavaScript. So yeah, and the good thing about this is you really, as I said, you get creative, and you try to find how you can force this thing do your bidding, whatever it is. As in my case, it's when the game looks like this, that we have like this pop-up menu. Again, this is plain and simple JavaScript that I put into a passage as text, and then evaluate whatever the text is that I have in a tag of an HTML thing, and I have this evaluate as code, which is probably not the safest thing to do, but of course for a game it works all right. This is how I could separate what is happening from so data from the what was it, the code. That's advanced color enjoyment, says Disease. Oh, can we give an alpha channel for our favorite color? Of course, Frank, of course. Sorry that I wasn't so transparent before, but yes, of course you can. Not Twitch purple, lower saturation, says Kersey. Yeah, the Twitch purple is, I feel like it's a bit too sharp. It's hard to put in words, but I think I know exactly what you mean. So if it's a little well-rounded, is your purple. It's a nice purple. And I have a favorite color, but I can never see it. I kind of like it. That for example, my favorite color could be in the ultraviolet spectrum. So instead, then I wouldn't be asking what is your favorite color, because color is only the perception of electromagnetic radiation. Think about it. It's such a nerdy thing to say. But what is your favorite frequency of electromagnetic radiation? And it's a trick question, because if your color is a mixture of red and ultra and violet, so all shades of purple and rose, then it's not one frequency of electromagnetic radiation, but it's two frequencies that overlap. Yes, we're already doing the color science talk again. Fully transparent purple, says Frank. Okay, so it's now two people here have purple as their favorite color, which is weird in a sense that I recall when I was in, what was the first school that you go after kindergarten? It's, I think, grade school. boarding school or whatever. I'm not familiar with the correct term. In Austria, it was called Volksschule, so the people's school. And I recall that we everyone had to write down or at least make known their favorite color, and our teacher just put it up on a big board, and everyone had a little dot with their favorite color there, so we could see what the distribution was. And the favorite colors were red, blue, green, and yellow. Of course, there were some oranges there, and I recall we didn't have a purple. Pink, we had lots of pink ones, but there was no one that had purple. And I think this even was remarked upon by my teacher. So this is why I remember it. And now we have two people here, albeit granted, Frank, your purple is fully transparent, but it still is purple. So I find it nice. Also, when you look at games nowadays, especially in the last 1 or 2 or 3 years, I feel like this super saturated purple as signature color has, for some reason, such a big adoption now, which is weird, because I think the only purple game that I can... the game with the purple as a signature color was Saints Row. Apart from that, nothing. And now we have many of the what was it, Legends of Avium or something, so fantasy action kind of games. And I thought why this is, and one a conclusion I came to, or one thing that I realized, is because we have better displays now than we have like 20 years ago, with a bigger color gamut. I mean, if you have something like a somewhat current phone, probably you have a screen or a display that is capable of having a much wider color gamut, and this especially pertains to dark blue and purple, so that these colors really pop and not just go either washed out or just somehow blur together. So probably not the reason. It's just something that I when I can't sleep that I think about. Kirsty says, my favorite color is a radio wave transmission of my favorite song. There you go. See, is this electromagnetic radiation? Is a radio radiation electromagnetic radiation? Or probably it is, right? So then you have multiple frequencies, but in my book, it kind of works. Now, I've heard somewhere people say, yeah, what's your favorite color? And when you say, yeah, it's 843 nanometers, and they say it's only a color if you can perceive it. So Frank, there goes your fully transparent purple again. But in the end, does it really matter what someone's definition of a color is? If your favorite color is fully transparent purple, don't let anyone tell you it's not a color, because it is, and if it makes you happy, that's the most important thing. Frank says, to be honest, I don't know. As a child, I claimed my favorite color was red, but then I slowly moved to not particularly having one. I think that's better anyway. I once was, it was like 10 years ago, when I was starting out as a colorist. Well, 10 years ago, I was already 5 years, been 5 years a colorist. And I was asked by someone who brought their kid, again, probably kindergartner, and they said, yeah, this is Phil, he works as a colorist. And the kid just said, oh, what's your favorite color then? And I was stumped. I didn't have one. So it's always good to have at least an answer to when someone asks you what your favorite color is, so that you have an answer. Because I told the kid that it's a pretty hard question and that I don't know how to answer it, which completely puzzled the kid, because the kid said probably red or something. See, I'm so inconsiderate, I don't even remember what the kid replied. Don't even know whose kid it was or what it looked like. Anyway, I remember the kid. DC says, mine is microwave because they heat up my leftovers. My favorite color heats up my leftovers. So probably something in the warm red then. Of course, imperceptible, but still. Frank says, oh, I forgot, I'm rereading Discworld. My favorite color is obviously octarine. Or I should... Terry Pratchett. This is such a big gap in probably my white whale in my reading is that some of the classics I haven't read. Talking of white whale, I haven't read Moby Dick. I read a decade ago Treasure Island and was not particularly smitten with it. So I thought, yeah, probably I can push it aside as Moby Dick. But Then again, I've read Dracula, and it was great. So probably reading Terry Pratchett, especially in today's environment, probably not the worst that you could do. And I've heard he's a pretty good writer. Any reading recommendations? Personally, I've usually I don't read novels that much. Usually, my happy fun time reading is, I don't know, the specification for Lua scripting for the play date. This is what I try not to read before bed, because I get too excited and too giddy to program. So I don't read technical documentations of things that I'm excited about anymore. But along those things. But when I do read novels, there are certain books or novels that I read because of games, or started reading because of games. And currently I'm reading The Anubis Gates by darn it, I forgot. Tim Powers, I think. I have to look it up. And this is a science fiction fantasy action novel from 1983, which is weird because it feels kind of current. Yeah, Tim Powers is his name. And why am I reading this? Well, I read another book by Tim Powers before that was Declare, which was a little bit long-winded, but otherwise good. And why was I reading Tim Powers in the first place? Well, Tim Powers' On Stranger Tides novel was the inspiration for Ron Gilbert for Monkey Island. And this is how I became aware of Tim Powers. And when I first read the On Stranger Tides novel, I was sucked in and thought, okay, that's pretty well written and entertaining. So I check out the other things. Yeah, with Declare, I was a little bit, it's a bit too long. And someone is enjoying their research about a particular historic figure, and probably the author thought, it's so nice that I can fill out all the gaps in this person's biography, and it all makes sense and adds up. And as a reader, I don't particularly know this historic person that well, and if you've made it up, it probably would have worked just as well, probably even better. So you can see that the author was having a lot of fun making all these weird connections, and I as a reader think, it's a little bit obtuse and overly unnecessarily complex. And then I had I found out what other people were recommending about Tim Powers on Goodreads, because this is where I went when I thought, I like how he writes, but it's a bit overly dense. And people said, read The Anubis Gates and then you know everything. So long story short, that's what I'm reading. And Vanilla DC said, since you mentioned Dracula, Camilla, I've read, is a good short one. Yes, Carmilla. The fun thing is with Carmilla is it's set in my hometown. In the book, there is a town called Graz, G-A-R-T-Z, and I was born in Graz, so essentially it's set in this dark Styrian forest in this lone castle. And I found it to be honest, a bit more entertaining even than Dracula, because it's a short one. It's short, it's dense, it's very well written. It has this mystery with it, and it came even before Dracula. So I very much enjoyed reading Camilla. So if anyone is looking for Victorian horror, but it's not really horror that much. I mean, of course, it's a bit dark, and again, give it a try. Give it a try. I liked it a lot. Thank you for recommending. I do recommend trying Discworld, says Frank, but I think I'm going to join the group of people who recommended not starting with one of the first two in the series. That is interesting. Is there a reason? Did the books start out as just some silly, I don't know, ironic comedy, and only after the third book he started? Maybe I should put a message in there. That's interesting. Frank said, anyway, about time for me to go. Have fun with the rest of the stream. Thank you for sharing, and I hope you have a wonderful week as always. And thank you for your support and for dropping by, Frank. All the best. Right. And the good thing is I feel like the coffee is doing its magic on me. I hope it's not too distracting that on one hand I'm sipping coffee as I talk, and the other thing is I realized that I'm searching for words even more than usual when I'm talking. So I try not to talk as fast that my poor brain I can give my poor brain a chance to catch up, because that's another thing with me. As soon as I get invested or passionate about talking or speaking about something, I speak a little bit faster than I'm able to translate my thoughts into English, or sometimes even German for that matter. So hope it's all good for you. Horror for the time, maybe. Old-timey horror sometimes falls flat nowadays. The Invisible Man is almost a little funny. That's also with Lovecraftian horror. I think Lovecraft, probably one of my favorite authors, because my God, he's just so damaged as a poor person by all his fear and distrust of the other. But in the end, good stories came out of it, because I think because he was such a damaged little cookie that the stories that he wrote really stood out, because they were just so different than the other ghost story where it's just this one apparition who haunts this house. And for Lovecraft it was like, no, it's the entire universe is against us or indifferent to our existence, and this is probably the most horrific thing for a person of the early 20th century, right? So classic horror. I mean, it's sometimes it can even be fun to read. It's like when you play games that were on the index, as we say in Germany, that were taken from circulation because it was just banned for child or youth protection. And then the games are, for example, of course, Wolfenstein 3D, Doom, and there are other games like Raid on Bungling Bay. For those who don't know, this is one of earliest Raid at Bungling Bay games by Will Wright, and Raid on Bungling Bay. And if you can, was it, or a River Raid? I think it was River Raid. Yeah. And I mean, if you look at this, what is the problem with this game? And I think it was called, the problem was in Germany, it was banned because it depicted that you could only solve conflict through violence, which is with the first early shooters. It's pretty much 99% of these games. You just shoot things and the pixels are disabled then when you hit something. And for youth and child protection, this was, I mean, child protection, it's not a service. It's like they were rating media and books to see whether it was deteriorating for the youth. And in Germany, this, and also Austria, not as much as in Germany, but this was very strong, very strict in a sense. So as soon as something was not set in some weird fantasy world, but no, here you have a house, you have a tree, and this is a boat. So this is displaying an actual conflict between people, and you're shooting and killing people. And and if you look, it's the same thing. This was banned back in the day, but nowadays it's like just another pixel game, like so many. And same thing goes for what was horror in the 1900s is, from nowadays perspective, somewhat a bit quaint, if not cute or funny. Can you recommend some good Lovecraft to start with? Maybe I read At the Mountains of Madness and I really liked it, but man, is it dense with descriptions. I think that's the problem with Lovecraft. I think At the Mountains of Madness is probably one of with the least bit of action, I would say, and the most descriptions. I mean, if you cut out all the dense and describing language and contrast it with what is actually happening, there is not that much content. So what I started out with was the Penguin Classics book, and there it had, I feel like a good sequence of stories. So I would say the first one that really drew me in from the first chapter in this book was Dagon. that is very short, and also in the sense it just tells, as with many early Lovecraft stories, yes, someone sees something and goes mad. And if you want to read something more pulpy and something a little bit a bit campy even, I would go for Herbert West Reanimator, because there is a bit more action involved in there. Then I feel like one of my favorite stories from Lovecraft is The Color Out of Space, or Out of Time. No, I think it was The Color Out of Space, because again, it is also very, I mean, also not a lot is happening there, but I like how slow it's building. Also, for things that are slow building but have this sense of dread, is The Whisperer in Darkness. And also the Haunter of the Dark. Well, yeah, strange, similar titles. But yeah, the Haunter of the Dark is also kind of short, and I like it because it again has some dark exploration in it. And yeah, I think At the Mountains of Madness, because it's like a novella, and it's kind of long. Also, The Call of Cthulhu is, I mean, there are multi-layers to the story of where someone reads a letter where someone recalls something they read in a book or something. So it's many of those different kinds of stack-based narration in a sense. But yeah, with At the Mountains of Madness is probably, I would say, probably the least interesting to start with. So the short stories, the early short stories, are pretty good, many of them. And then if you one that is also very good, it's a bit longer, is Shadow over Innsmouth. I think this has a nice twist to it at the end. I'm not going to spoil it, but again, it has this action, more there is much more happening to it. And again, I like how Lovecraft builds tension slowly, and it's not just bam, there are the fish people and they're out to get me. No, it's, yeah, people are doing strange things and I'm not feeling safe here, so maybe, you know what, the lock on the door that I in the house that I have to sleep, it doesn't look right, so maybe I tighten the bolts a little bit, and sure enough, at night you hear someone trying the door, and you're just so glad that the narrator decided, you know what, that's kind of weird, I am going to fix this. And it's this kind of horror, which again I like a lot. So I hope this answers the question. Yeah, Lovecraft, a horrible racist, but again, his stories, because of his constant fear of the other, are just interesting to read. Of course, I wouldn't recommend him as a person. I mean, he got softer the older he got, thankfully, but still, yeah, you can't sugarcoat this. So here the game, let's try combination. So I'm currently polishing it whenever I don't feel like keep writing on the ending, because that's the thing with text-based games. You feel like, how hard could it be? It's just text. There is not much to polish. But as soon as you think, yeah, maybe I can have here an inventory, or do something that looks a bit nice, or have here like this menu on top, and maybe it should also run on the Steam Deck, and suddenly you I think this game is more elaborate in terms of programming than my first Steam game. That was Finesweeper, which is just another Minecraft variant. But again, if you think Minesweeper, I mean, how hard could this be? And the answer is, the game itself is not that hard to make. It's all the things around it, like, okay, level progression. What if players want to stop playing in the middle of it and then continue on a different computer? They maybe want high scores, see where their friends are on the high score, have achievements, have trading cards for Steam. What happens when you close the game while the game is currently animating something? All these kinds of edge cases that go far beyond the actual game mechanics. So yeah, this is always the tip of the iceberg is the actual game, and the rest, what's underneath, is all these little things that you have to consider. Limbo Nord says it's hard to dig him as a person. Yeah, someone on some podcast, there was also the question that the host asked the other is, if you lived back then, do you think you would have befriended Lovecraft? And they said, oh, hell no. he sounded like, on one hand, that he could be an interesting person to just talk to or have a discussion with, but at the same point, probably as a person, he would just drive you crazy. TC says, thank you, we'll check them out. Yeah, again, if you have, if I should repeat anything that I said, again, my answer probably was a bit dense, but hopefully, yeah, again, if you start with the earlier short stories, you cannot go wrong there. I mean, there are some stories like The Horror at Red Hook, which are just racist, or Rats in the Walls also has a cat that is called for some reason the N-word, and I feel like, oh geez, Lovecraft, why it's just a cute little black kid. Never mind. So yeah, we all know with today's sensibilities, you just flinch and cringe when you read these things and feel like, oh Jesus, HP, please. no, even back then probably. Yeah. Right, so a game dev. What I was doing the past week, I didn't get much done, but you can see here we have now these little buttons here with this nice hover effect. I want to emphasize here when something is hovered that it's a bit brighter. It not just has here this bright bar on top. So maybe I can look into this. And overall, where is Photoshop? There it is. So I decided I want to give the UI another overhaul. So this is how it currently looks. For example, we also have here this button that blends into too much there overlap. I mean, it's CSS. In the end, if you do something with style sheets, sooner or later you get the cascading of the CSS. So overlapping boxes. So this is when I turn this off and on again. So for some reason Photoshop is, I'm killing Photoshop now by just enabling and disabling here the layer with how I changed it. So the darker one, this one here with this light bezel, is my idea of how this sidebar should look like. Here for the open journal, I really like this book, but this is just the first hand-drawn book that I came across when I googled it. So this I have to draw myself, of course. This is just stand-in. But I think what is causing Photoshop to choke on this is, you see this wood grain here in the background. This I think is a little bit too big as a pattern, because in Photoshop you can define patterns, repeating patterns that you can just overlay. For example, like, I don't know, a leather pattern or a carbon fiber pattern over something. And yeah, I took a texture of some wood grain and put it way too big in there and using that one as a pattern. And apparently Photoshop was never made for it. I mean, it doesn't complain, but at the same time, yeah, it's, if I click a layer on or off, and there on my high-end machine, this is an Intel 14900 and with a 4090 RTX, it's just dying. And again, it's probably not the problem of the computer, it's how Photoshop is made. So probably I should do something about it. But yeah, this would be to make it look a little bit more premium. One thing that I'm also not happy with is how I tucked this button there. So maybe I want to have instead of this little, I mean, this looks like a piece of chocolate. Maybe I have some ribbon there where it feels like, yeah, you're pulling the sidebar out on its little red ribbon or along these lines. And the other construction side that I still have here is the inventory. For one thing is the black bean. I probably should change its color because it's almost it blends so much into its background that I need to think of something. Maybe have darker squares in the background or a grid or something, or make the bean itself darker. I'm not sure what to do, but yeah, I have to do something. DC says, one last weird reading recommendation. If anyone likes weird old-timey horror, is the first 4 stories in The King in Yellow. Oh yeah, this... I think this was of a contemporary of Lovecraft. I've never read The King in Yellow, but there are references in Lovecraft to, was it Algernon Blackwood? Not quite sure, but of Lovecraft's contemporary. So this is, I think, for old-timey history and weird tale nerds, it's funny to see the different, how the individual authors paid homage to each other. The black bean kind of looks like a chocolate stain, right? I mean, I didn't go for completely black, because then it's hard to shade something to make it a bit darker. So usually I rarely use in my artwork complete white, maybe just for highlights here and there, for really the super tight, pointy specular reflection, and also not entirely black, so that I can, should I need to go darker. And this is why I went for this super dark brown, but now here, because everything is so dark brown, it doesn't really stand out anymore. And since here I have, the background is very close to being black, it really does, it does not stand out anymore. So yeah, I have to do something about this at some point. But yeah, it was, I think, a good call for me to instead just keep fiddling with the CSS, to do it in Photoshop and then try to recreate this as soon as I'm happy with. Yeah, the other thing that I'm not happy with is here the inventory text box, because it looks a little bit out of place, because the text box here is the same text box as we have here in the passage text. And I mean, I have like 3 different frames here. We have here this golden frame, on top we have here this white outline frame, and we have here the button frame that looks like it's made of brass with a little nail. And yeah, it's maybe I need to find a way to unify this a little bit. And this is why making games takes so long. As a player, you don't think twice, or most of the time you don't think twice about these kind of user interface things, because in the end it just feels right, it feels fitting to the kind of game. I mean, if you look at this, you wouldn't think that this is a hard science fiction kind of text adventure. No, this has a bit of fantasy and fairy tale to it, and this is all that you would care as a player. But yeah, all these little things, it's the curse and the blessing of making games is you have to make everything yourself. That's the best thing, is, hey, you can make everything yourself, but you have to make everything yourself. You have, I mean, if you don't draw it, at least you have to make the decision how it should look like, and where to put it, and what are the pros and cons. And it's so hard. It's much easier to look at something that someone else made and point out and say, yeah, here you probably should use a different font for this. When you're doing this yourself, and you have all the options open to you, it's so hard to put something, to set something in stone. Because, I mean, could it be a little bit better if I tried something different? Well, I don't know. Let's try it. And let's fuck around and find out a sequence. You need to break out of it at a certain point. Frank, when he's here, I think he told me more than once that, you know what, it's kind of good enough. Just move on. And I'm trying myself to get better at it's good enough. Just move on. The other thing, of course, that I need for my game is sound and music. Right now there is still the only sound effects and music are still from the Ludum Dare version, which is not bad, but also it's not good, because again it was made with the rest of the game in 48 hours, and so especially the music was just make it a little bit mysterious, and hope that it goes on for at least 1.5 minutes and not be too annoying when it starts looping. So this is the reason why the keyboard is sitting here next to me. It has been sitting there for half a week now, and I didn't really get to it. But as with music, probably some of you already have have heard the good news that finally my reimagined soundtrack of SimCity 2000 is out. So this was last week. We were working on 1 or 2 songs, and now it's out there. So if you for some reason did not get the message here, the plus sign at the end, this is wrong. I just put it there in the chat again. Okay, so it's the link without the plus at the end. So if you want to listen to it, you can. And what is weird is I just put it out there and thought, maybe 1 or 2 people are interested in it. And for some reason, this went viral on Mastodon. As far as something can go viral on Mastodon, I have like 100 boosts of this just announcement that, hey, it's out. If you want to take a listen to it, here is the link. And even people supported me just so that they can get a download code to play it offline. And again, I'm just so flabbergasted by that. Really, people have been, it feels like, almost waiting for this. And Connie told me, you know what, maybe you should do these reinterpretations or these remasters of other MIDI soundtrack games. And I thought, you know what, I actually have a couple of soundtracks on my list, but again, I have so many projects on my stack that at some point in the future perhaps, but maybe we can work on a song every now and then, because the soundtrack that I'm looking to remaster next would be Rise of the Triad. And it's a different beast than the SimCity 2000 soundtrack, because let's be honest, the SimCity 2000 soundtrack is kind of basic. Like some tracks just are made up of 2 instruments to play for half a minute. And the Rise of the Triad soundtrack was made by Bobby Prince, who also made the Doom soundtrack, and Lee Jackson from Apogee. And those are, let's say, full-time trained musicians that also try to make something a little bit bigger and not very, very smaller, self-contained things like what we have here with the SimCity soundtrack. The other thing that might perhaps be interesting to remaster would be the Dune 2 soundtrack by Frank Klepacki from Westwood Studios fame, who would later make the music to Command & Conquer and Command & Conquer Red Alert. So I mean, those were CD music with Command & Conquer, but with Dune 2, that was still a DOS game. I mean, Command & Conquer also was a DOS game, but earlier, and this was all MIDI, but you could already hear how he would structure his songs and how they what the intention was, how they should sound, and this is what the sound of Command & Conquer was. But in terms of composition and how things were laid out, you can also already hear it in the MIDIs, which is kind of neat. Anyway, Andrew JK says, you underestimated the power of SimCity nostalgia. Apparently I did. I mean, SimCity 2000 is a great game, and I think I played it last year again and had my little Phil town. And I mean, you start out, it's just like, yeah, you know what, I'm in the mood for some City 2000. Just plop down some buildings, some zones, and be good. And that's it. And then after 3 hours, you feel like, you know what, I could play another 3 hours now. Yeah, SimCity 2000 is probably one of my favorite SimCity games, because I liked SimCity on the Super Nintendo, which this is also one of my feel good, my chill out, my cozy games is SimCity 2000, SimCity, not 2000, SimCity on the Super Nintendo, because there was also SimCity 2000 on the Super Nintendo, but SimCity 2000 is best played on DOS. But back then I got the big CD box with the Urban Renewal Kit, where you could draw your own buildings, and I tried, of course, as every kid would do, I tried to build the neighborhood pixel by pixel. It looked horrible, and I realized probably not my strongest suit. So let's have some more coffee, because more espresso, less depresso. So good. Right, I said game development, and I have many to-dos, and I think for today what would be a chill and nice way of doing things would be, you know what? Let me take care of the journal. Just draw a hopefully similar looking book in my style. And also, as when you open the journal, you click on this button and it opens the journal. Then I want the journal icon also to be well, that's the gesture, an open book. When you close it, it looks like this, which again would be I would enjoy as a player. And as soon as I think, you know what, this is unnecessary, but as a player I always enjoy things where I feel like this is completely unnecessary to the game, but the person who made this one little detail had such great fun with it and thought this would be a fun or nice or intriguing or whatever addition. And whenever I see some, I would say, game design flourish like this, it always makes me happy as a player. And so this is why with many things that you can do in this game, again, it's all text based, so it's relatively cheap. But if you try to do a weird combination of items where you think, yeah, this, I mean, is something happening when I do X and Y? And yes, most of the time I think I should have a reaction text for you trying this out. It's like this. There's like this little dialogue. So right, to do this I need to get my tablet. That's the word. And since this is such a well assorted home office, everything is at arm's length, which thank you so much for reminding me. Yeah, what happened was that the Stream Deck toppled over, and when I was putting it up again, I hit this button here, which is disable the microphone. So hopefully, thank you for being such quick on figuring this out, what went wrong on my end. And also congratulations, Phil, for looking at the chat right on time when it happened. So thank you, Kersey, for calling out my technical difficulties. All good now. Good. Okay, so I didn't unplug. But yeah, this is what I joked. I don't know if it was already offline when I said, I hope I didn't unplug anything and I hope I'm still on air. And this is when you said, yeah. Oh, Unicorn, of course. Thank you, Kersey Boo. I have here my good old glass of water. It's half a metric liter, and this was probably the best decision that I made, was to just get big drinking glasses, because before in the flat that we were living, for some reason I always had these small glasses, and you don't drink as much if you have to constantly get up and refill your glass. People have now these big water bottles, but for me it's this half metric liter of water. That's good enough for me. And the automated unicorn looks out of the window for the oats truck. Oh, automated unicorn, it's not gonna come. We are here in Austria and it's Saturday, which means everything is closed. Everything. That's also Austria fact. Maybe I should have a signation for weird Austria fact, is that when I was a kid, shops were only open from Monday to Friday. So if you needed, I don't know, milk, you had, when you were lucky, one of the tank stops was open and would carry milk. But otherwise, if it's Saturday or Sunday, nothing had open. You couldn't buy anything. Then it changed in the late 90s or mid 90s. I think that at least Saturday shops had open until noon. Nowadays shops have open on the weekend to around 6 in the evening, and on Sunday nothing. Only again tank stops, or maybe if you have a grocery shop at a train station, because there it's to provide food and edibles for travelers. So this apparently is legally allowed, but otherwise, this is why when it's Sunday, we feel like it still feels a little bit like we're living behind the moon. Right, so why is my stylus behaving such weirdly? The reason is I need to run the Open Tablet driver. My good old friend needed, as always I say, it needed a little bit of configuration and getting used to, but once it works, it's so great. And also for painting, what am I doing in Photoshop? That is the least suited program for this. Where is Krita? There is Krita. DC says only McDonald's, as I unfortunately found out when I arrived on a Sunday. Exactly, the fast food. You're and not all the McDonald's and not all the Burger Kings. Yes, we have Burger Kings now, but yeah, you know it with Austria. It's when I was living in Berlin in around 2008, I was just amazed that I could go buy electronics until 10 in the evening or something. It was like, what? Why? And the bad thing, of course, is that you get used to this kind of thing. So yeah, even during the week or on Saturdays, or especially on Sundays, certain shops just had open, and of course you get so used to it. So the book, how do I want the book to look? Well, pretty much like we have here. So let me sketch this out first. So this should the book be, you know what, maybe I should draw it out when it's opened as well. Am I drawing? Oh yeah. Change the color. So when it's open, or is this for a journal? Is this too wide? Should it be a bit more or squat? Or maybe the page is something like this, so that it's not too open. Yeah, already thinking about how it looks in the inventory, because of course if the book lies here open, it's roughly twice as wide, and I want to find a solution for it, that it doesn't take up twice the screen real estate for it. Or maybe what I could do is, if it's closed, drawing again with a background gray. Phil, why are you doing this? So that the book, when it's closed, or when it's closed, oh, this is why I'm constantly changing, because I'm still running in my brain on Photoshop shortcuts. So I wanted to move the layer, but I did not, and instead pick the color. So when the book is closed, it's here in the center, and when it's open, it just shifts slightly to the left and to the right, essentially, so that when it's open, it looks like this, but essentially it's just centered in the icon. Just sketch this very quickly, and when it's open, how does an open journal look like? As soon as you start drawing something, especially something that you should be familiar with, like what does an open book look like? As soon as you start drawing, you realize, yeah, things don't look as you thought they would look. And suddenly it turns out to be a bit harder to draw from complete memory than you thought it would be. So maybe I should find a reference at some point. But yeah, this would be the closed version and the open version. And what happened? Where is it? What happened? Oh, the opacity. I turned down the opacity. That's it. So, and then align it. Again, I'm now used to the Photoshop transformation tool, which this is not. And I just wish it were. So how can I just pick here the corner points and move them independent of the rest? Because I want to skew it a little bit. Transform a layer or a selection, Control T. But I can, the thing what I want to do is I just want to pull this, for example, this corner up and to the left. Where do I have it here? Inventory, curves, wood, sidebar, passages. Where I have no idea where I have the journal button. Oh, probably there. Yeah, that's the journal stand-in. So what I want to do is do something like this, so I can skew the layer around. And interestingly, this is not possible in Krita because I can only scale it up there on the corners. And I wonder if this is possible or if I'm trying to teach a camel to swim, if that's the right analogy. Tools, filters, maybe it's here under edit. I mean, if it would be possible, then it would allow me with one of these fancy buttons here. But I can only crop, I can move the layer, or I can transform the selection, but not skew it. Assistant tool, perhaps with the assistant tool. Anyway, Kersey says, where did the closed journal art come from? Was it yours or are you being inspired by to make this an open journal art? I thought it would be nice to have an artwork here because otherwise you wouldn't be clicking it, I think, and to make it just nicer to look at. And this, I just Googled for, I think, hand-drawn journal or cartoon book or something. And from Google Images, the first one that roughly fit the color, I just removed the background and put it in there. So this is why it's a stand-in. But since then I've somewhat fallen in love with it because I mean it's very fitting, and I feel like if I turn it off, it feels like there is something missing. So it was by pure chance I came across it and thought, yeah, you know what, this looks very nice. So this is the reason why I want one of my own. So, cheers, by the way. And so, yeah, let's start with the closed journal. Just one thing, that instead of transforming this, because apparently I cannot transform it correctly, what instead I do is just make myself a little guide so that the slantedness, the tiltedness of the book when it's closed and when it's open is kind of similar. So something like this, and this is, I will use this as my guide when I'm drawing it. Or is this, I mean, it doesn't look, because I slanted it slightly, I have to do this again. So I wanted to do this for perspective reasons. So when I slant it and rotate it, for some reason it looks incorrect. And I wonder why, whether is this an optical illusion or by design. I think it's by design that it kinda, yeah, the other things are throwing me off, that it kinda looks off, like this should be like so. Good old art questions. So what I can do to make sure that this is parallel, I just take this and move it over. And you know what? It's an optical illusion because those two lines are in fact parallel. So this would be an isometric projection and actually correct. It's weird how this throws me off. That because again it feels like this line here actually is something like this. So maybe also it's the edge on top of here, or if I'm looking at it too, it's not you, it's me. But so I can use this here as a divider line now that I have it. And if I divide it like so, then I have here my reference for the center of the book. Good. You know what? Let's just combine all these, and this would be my guide for book open and book closed. Good. Okay, so then let's make some nails with heads, as we say in German when you get down to business doing something. So right, my reference here is I would say the projection on the ground of what I'm drawing. It sounds a little bit overly fancy, but it means when I'm drawing the book now, I'm not wrong. Or let's draw with white, so that I'm not making, for example, when I'm just looking at this rectangle here, so this would be my closed book, and so I could draw it like this, where I say, okay, my reference here is yeah, this is bad, is the top of the book cover, but instead I will say that the reference here is the bottom of the cover. And oh, that's horrible. And the book itself looks like this. So of course it doesn't look like as I just drew it now. For this I need to zoom out a little, and you know what, make it a bit thicker, even like this. Again, I want to have this hand drawn appeal, but at the same time I don't want it to be too hand drawn, if you know what I mean, so that it looks a little bit too, yeah, the edges aren't feel unsure. So, and one of the reasons is why lines tend to look all wobbly like this is because when you draw it, and you draw it like I mean, you get the best lines when you flick with your wrist. When you work against your wrist or outside of the wrist, of course, then the lines tend to get all wobbly. And this is the reason why you can turn your canvas to align it in a sense that it's the most natural for you to draw a straight line. Because at first I never understood why Photoshop and other art tools allow you to rotate the canvas. So if I draw outwards, the line gets wobbly, but if I draw inwards, it gets much better. And of course, if I need to draw something that, especially here with a flick of the wrist that goes in this direction, it's so much better than when I try to do the opposite here. And you see it always has a weird little angle to it. So yeah. Art talk over. It's not over since I'm drawing here. So yeah, and of course straight lines are the hardest to draw. But I mean, I think it's okay if it's slightly wobbly. Again, it's going to be scaled down substantially in the end, and I just wanted to look nice while I'm drawing on it and not completely embarrass myself here in front of you all. So this would be the book cover. So the pages would be here. Maybe here this round part is a bit too round. So I can make it a bit more angular, perhaps, like so. Yeah, there are different ways of how to define a shape when you draw something. It's are you drawing or are you painting? I think that's the distinction. So when you draw something, you start from with the outlines, and from the outlines you derive the shape. And when you paint something, you start with the body, essentially. So you lay down a big blotch of paint and then just move it about until it has the shape that you want, and then just keep adding to the shape or fill it in. Never over. Curious, where did you close journal art? Oh, never over. Never over. I don't know what the context of never over was that you said, Cursiboo. Probably because I've been neglecting the chat again. So is this now a bit too angular? I have to look at the reference art, because this one here, again, I like how it looks. So interesting. So here they have the cover is separate from the spine, the binding. So maybe, you know what, now that I look at it more closely, when you look here at how the pages are drawn, maybe that's even AI quote unquote art. Also because here when you look at the ornament here, as soon how can you tell whether something was AI art? You just keep following the lines and you think, okay, if I were drawing this, would I draw the line like this? And this one just stops here and this one goes all wobbly but becomes a different line there, and it doesn't make sense. So okay, art talk is never over. Thank you for the context, Cursiboo. So yeah, this is AI art. It does look like weird, like AI art. Yeah, we probably should put the art in quotes, unless of course you're referring to the art it was stolen from. DC says, oh yeah, it's got that melty AI look. I wonder for how long we will still see this AI look, but I think one of the best ways to figure out is really to just look at it and think, okay, if I were drawing this, would I make the same decisions? And most of the time it's like when something should be symmetrical, like the edges that you have here, this corner looks good, then it stops here. Okay, well, this corner looks good, but okay, what is happening here on the top? Because this one corner just falls completely off. Then of course we have here the melty AI art. Also, what is wrong here with this ribbon? Is it turning? Is it getting broader or flat, or something's weird here? The next thing is this. Is it a clasp or something? Again, as soon as you start looking at things more closely, you figure out, okay, no human mind has given this thought what is happening here. So yeah, I think, you know what, it's fine to steal for me to steal from this. So maybe this is also why here the faceplate of the book, the cover, is separate. I'm not sure if this is even intentional. Because, I mean, this random number generator for pixels does nothing intentional. It just does something plausible based on heuristics, essentially. So yeah, as for the shape, I think we're relatively good here. What I like about this is that it has this a certain width to it. If only books were real, you could look at it in real life instead. Yeah, the one thing is, of course, if you look at books, you need something that looks like this journal. I mean, maybe I have something like this. No, not up here, but some of you know I'm a notorious bookshop and a papercraft fiend. So whenever I go somewhere where crafting materials are sold, or especially paper notebooks, I have to buy one. And in the basement I have a big box of exactly that. Way too many notebooks to ever fill up in my entire life, probably, because whenever I go there, I buy at least one little black soft notebook or leather bound book. Then because the leather-bound books, I never write in them because they look so expensive. And of course, you cannot write, I don't know, your grocery list in there. It has to be something substantial, maybe something that looks nice, something that you wouldn't be ashamed of sharing on Instagram, right? So, and I don't have things like this where I feel like it's looking so nice that I want to share it on the socials. So I think for now my drawing approach is over, and now it's time for the painterly approach. So I like this coffee brown color and the yellow. So I think I will go with coffee brown and yellow and fill this out. So this is more like orange, what I've picked here. So let's go for something that's a bit more, that's slightly more coffee. And the next question is what brush to use. And I already have here, I restricted myself to these brushes. Otherwise, I will never see the end of it. Because as soon as you start trying out different brushes, it's a bit like when composing and you just play around with instruments, and you have, of course, everything that you have downloaded on your hard drive is possible instrument, and maybe more if you're using synths. So you get what's it called, analysis paralysis, because you have just all the options. So it's always good to limit yourself. Even at first, it's just pick 3 random brushes, just any brushes, and then you figure out, okay, this one is super useful, you want to use it everywhere, and the other one is never useful, so maybe you can exchange this one. It's a bit like I said, with instruments, or when you do some typography with fonts or colors. Essentially, you really want to limit yourself to craft some sort of coherence. We can only imagine this disease. Leather-bound books are for world-changing manifestos. Exactly. And not for grocery lists or just some mindless doodling while you're on the phone, right? And that's the sad part of it. The other thing is I also like to write longhand, but of course I have to be in the mood. And I also do journaling occasionally. Most of the time it's I wish there were more progress with my game, but there is not, because I'm journaling right now. Hashtag my life sucks along those lines. So I want to do some more journaling, but again, then I feel like I'm not giving the game enough attention. But it's fun, because years ago I started investing in fountain pens, and the first one I got was relatively cheap, and I realized why it was cheap, and then I looked into the fountain pen snob forums that are, of course, ever present on various nooks and crannies on the internet. And then as soon as you see something that you feel that looks very cool but is kind of expensive, and everyone is just comparing it with that, and sooner or later you feel like, I got to get the good shit. And this is where I got my fountain pen from. And a fountain pen, of course, is only as good as your ability to paint or draw or write with it. So again, I took some time just to practice writing with a fountain pen. And I had to relearn longhand for that. And my initial reason for this was, believe it or not, I was watching Tim Burton's Sleepy Hollow film, and there were some things written in longhand by the protagonists there, and I just loved the very, I don't know, gothic, spiny, spidery letters there, and I thought, it would be so nice if I could draw like this. But sadly I cannot. And long story short, I just I tried to have to relearn handwriting and unlearn what I was taught in school of how to write letters, because of course in Austria we have also a standardized way of doing script letters, like every school kid does. And of course the ones in Sleepy Hollow look different, so I had to relearn essentially how how to do this. And this is in the end what became my handwriting in the long run. It's kind of weird when you think about it. Do you journal in English or in German? Interestingly, only in English, because I like how that there aren't that many capital letters. Because in German, every noun has to start with a capital letter, and in English, it's only proper nouns, right? Or certain names or something. And I like the rhythm much better in English. So, in fact, yes, I journal in English, which again is kind of weird. Just because I like it better how it looks. Because when you have always capital letters, I mean, you know what? I can write a sentence and show you how it looks compared to English and German. So let's write something here in longhand. Let's say, dear journal, here in English, dear journal, today I went to, that's not to, that is to the cafe. And in German, it's, as always with German, the words are much longer. So dear journal is liebes Tagebuch. Today I went to the cafe. Heute war ich im Café. Okay, actually there aren't many differences between English and German in this case. When you look at it or compare it side by side, which is not that easy, I just realized, because in this case it looks pretty much the same. Only café is capitalized in German. But yeah, this if you write longer stretches of text, because I write relatively dense, so when I keep writing, let's just say when I keep writing, I'm having the wrong brush again. The lines bleed, of course, into each other, and when you have lots of capital letters, suddenly they become like intertwined with maybe some swoops from the line above, and overall, when you look at it, it becomes a big mess and hard to read and not fun to write. And so yeah, this is my main reason is aesthetics. Isn't this weird? And Kirsty says, hi and bye to Tutvari. Hi guys, can't watch the stream today, but I thought, oh, this is so nice to say hi. Have a good evening, everyone. Thank you, Tutvari. Wherever you may be right now, I really do appreciate that you've still decided to drop by and say hi. This is, again, super nice of you. So, yeah, again, a good Pixel Prophecy stream is one with an unnecessary tangent. So let's try and see if I can also somehow make it here that we have here this cover plate. And how, okay, this is also this dark cappuccino. So I think I went for something that is between these two colors. So maybe I should fill it like so with this slightly darker brown. In the meantime, what does the chat say? Your cursive is nice. Oh, I get that, though I feel like I haven't written in my native language in years. Oh, what is your native language? Because online you never know what people's native language is, because I feel like, at least in my bubble, everything is English, and English with weird accents. Okay, so that's a bit nicer. Albanian, oh, interesting. Is Albanian a difficult language, or is it related to other Slavic languages? Because I've heard stories from people who fled from Russia to what was it? Croatia, I think, and they said it wasn't that hard to get used to the language. So I feel like maybe it's something like we have in German with Dutch, which always feels like I'm close, I'm on the cusp of understanding what is being said in Dutch, but then I don't. But it has the same basis. It feels like Dutch and German were languages that were separated at birth. So maybe this edge here is a bit too strong or too defined. Okay, the next question, of course, is that I didn't consider at first is from where is the light coming from? DC says, I think it's pretty difficult. It is a language isolated, so no real sister languages that are alive today. Oh yeah, that makes sense, because if you have an insular language, it's super hard to get into. I've heard from people who said, yeah, I know Spanish, I know Italian, even a little bit of French. How hard can learning a new language be? And then they start things like, what was it? It was not Danish. It was also a language that had no, as you say, sister language, and I think it was Slovenian, but no, this Slovenian should be Slavic. Anyway, yeah, the reason was, so this person, of course, when you know Italian and Italian and Spanish, I mean, then these languages are pretty closely related. It's like with and then of course, for example, there's German, and there it goes this joke when you say village. It's village, it's village, villaccio in Italian, and in German it's Dorf. So it's nothing that you can draw from. Also, the next thing is, of course, no, it was Greek. I think it was Greek what they were learning. Because with Greek, maybe when you studied Latin or something, it could be somewhat related to. But of course, in the end, it's always, you have to memorize the exceptions. And there are languages like Italian where it's so nice that, you know, okay, most of the words that end with O are masculine, and most of the words that end with A are feminine. And this already gives you some help when you, I don't know, need to figure out what the plural of something is. And in German there is no such rule. You have to learn everything and memorize everything. You cannot tell what the article of a word will be unless you've learned it or heard it somewhere. And this, especially I've heard language learners with German, they consider it a taxing language to learn, which I'm so glad that it's my first language, because yeah, learning German would be probably not something that's fun, because we have rules and more exceptions to those rules. Yeah. Greek is beautiful, says Disease language. I don't blame them for trying. Yeah, it is, right? I mean, I always like it hearing languages that I have no idea where to even start. For example, like Polynesian languages, for example, it's just, they have a nice ring to it, and it's always nice when you hear someone talk in a language that you don't know, and you feel like you want to figure out what is being said, or even just you're just entranced by the sound of it. So as for our journal, I feel like we have here a solid start. Does it still look like a journal from far away? Because again, this is going to be an icon. I would say yes, only needs some shading. And as I've said before, the question is, from where is the light coming from? And when we look at my game in general, usually I have ever since I was a kid and I started to dabble with shading and lighting, usually my reference was my desk lamp, which is to my right. And ever since then, my light source has been coming from, can I draw up here? My light source has been coming from, yeah, this direction. I wanted to draw a nice little arrow. 2 pixels, yeah, this should be. So this is my light direction. So it's like 45 degrees. It's 2.5 o'clock usually. So also here, I want to have the light source come from this side. So this means the spine here needs to fall off into, well, not darkness, but just get shaded. And what I like here is that we have here this somewhat brighter border there, but of course on this end it makes no sense that this is brighter. So essentially it needs to be more like here. Well, no, also not really, because the light should be coming from this direction. So the edge here, as I have it, is in the shade. So let's draw this one here a bit darker, but not as dark. And the dark brown should go here on the spine. And where the book is sitting on the table, usually these kinds of contact shadows, this is where, oh, there's my brush, where I usually keep things the darkest. Again, probably not black, but yeah, I try to keep the color of the environment and just make it very dark. For example, if something is sitting in the bright daylight, but is in the shade and having contact with the ground underneath, I give the ground this contact shadow a dark blue, because by this I'm implying that there's still a slight little bit of the skylight, of the blue sky, being reflected there before it goes completely dark. So I'm just layering here my shades, hopefully to give it a slightly worn appearance. And it kind of works. It's still a bit too bright there in the center. But maybe if I just make my brush a bit bigger, like so. And yeah, that's much better. This kind of works. Maybe even, since it's kind of the same brightness on top, I can go a little bit darker still. Why is everything freezing up? Milk, says Limbonaut. And Blubble, said the automated unicorn. And also I will have some milk that I put first into my coffee. So what is happening? Why can't I draw? I was worried for a second that that Krita crashed, and you know what this means? Probably that I thank you, Limbonaut, for redeeming unicorn. It means that probably I should save. And for this, I'm already here in the paintings. Let's call this journal icon version 01. Because I was trying to make music the other day, and was, yeah, something is wrong here. Let's restart Krita. Also close Photoshop. And I didn't save. I was just playing around with all sorts of instruments. And of course, when you just keep piling on instruments and it's constantly clearing the cache and opening it up again. And you know what? It's not just Krita. I cannot move here. Something is terribly broken, and my last ditch effort. Yeah, it's weird. I cannot move windows anymore. I can move this one here, but not the Explorer window, which means in the task manager I have to kill the Explorer. Is at least the stream still working? Because I mean, it says I'm streaming. I see myself animated in the window, but I cannot even switch on the task manager. Something is eating up all my clicks on the screen. Maybe it's the Open Tablet driver, but I cannot click anything here. It feels like Explorer is frozen, and when I go to the task manager, I also cannot switch over anything in the task manager. Okay, this is bad. This is bad. Okay, DC says at least yup, so you can still hear me while I try to figure out what is going on. But yeah, the sad part is, I mean, the only thing that is interactive right now, okay, Kersey also says you can see and hear me, but the only thing that I can move is the the notepad. So if I close the notepad, was it the notepad? No, okay, now only this window I can move, not the task manager. But I can open up the task manager, but something is stealing focus and I cannot tell what it is. Can I Alt Tab? Yes, I can Alt Tab, for example, to OBS, but I cannot move OBS. Okay, how? You're in Windows Purgatory now. I'm in Windows Purgatory since Windows 95. So yeah, what can I do? What can I do? Because yeah, when it's super hard when the task manager is unresponsive, but the Explorer is not, and we're still streaming. So what to do? I mean, I can try to lock and unlock the computer and see what happens to the stream. So let's try this. So we're still streaming. I can click. Oh yes, look at this. Look at this. I think this unlocked it. Okay, but still, just to be on the safe side, let's kill Explorer and open it up again. By the way, if things here are jumping around and you want to click something, but it's updating constantly, if you hold down Control, it's not updating anymore, I've been told. But apparently that's not the case anymore. Maybe it was just for details. So where is Explorer? Explorer is gone, which is good. So let's run Explorer again. Run new task, Explorer. There we go. All good. Fixed. Yeah, as I mentioned many times before, I hate every operating system for different reasons. That's the thing. So with Windows, at least, I'm somewhat familiar with its quirks, but yeah, that's the wrong thing. Oh, you know what? Since we're here anyway, I said I wanted to change here the button anyway. So I can, while I'm here, I can make it a bit brighter. Just need to figure out the right layer. Okay, so this one I want to make a bit brighter, and also the background. Waiting for image operation to complete. That's new. I wasn't aware that just changing some curves really takes Krita for. It doesn't even show me a useful progress bar anymore. Yeah, something is rotten. Either with Krita, I mean, I can hit escape, but can I move Krita around? I think it has to do with Krita somehow. Look at this. Yeah, this is not good. That's not good. Your PC is haunted. Yeah. Limonaut says, I guess you have no other option than to make Pixel OS. Yeah, another operating system that is also hated for another reason. Who knows what it is? Maybe it's for the constant unicorn sparkles that your mouse pointer relies upon, because each of those sparkles that it draws actually is necessary to keep, I don't know, the registers of the memory up to date or something. So you cannot turn off the sparkles and the unicorn neighing always in the background, because it's an integral part of the operating system of the Pixel OS. Yeah, I think the train has long since left the station where a single person could make an operating system. I think this stopped in the late 90s, I think. But yeah, sometimes it feels like it would be nice if you just simply could. Okay, we'll try this again, make this a bit brighter and hit OK. And now it worked. Okay, just need to make absolutely certain that I'm not overly taxing Krita for some reason. Okay, I want to make this also a bit brighter. when it's being hovered. This is what I'm here for. Hit OK. And what brush did I use? I think I used here the spatter brush, but not at this size. Maybe something like this. Again, this is when the button is being hovered. So it can be a bit lighter than usual. Okay, good. Load-bearing sparkles. Exactly, yeah. That's well put. So then I can even make this here a bit brighter. That's maybe a bit too bright. You know what? I will leave it at that. Again, we need to make sure that it's being... Am I here on the right layer? Oh no, it's crashing again. I don't know what the problem is. Somehow, I mean, it's good that at least I saved the our journal before, but yeah, I don't like what's going on there. Something is taxing the computer, and I don't want to go troubleshooting while we're in the middle of a stream, because I mean, it could be OBS, could be, because anything else is open. The automated unicorn here is digesting as it should. Then I only have here the settings open, and let's see, the temperature is actually looking good. I just can hear the fans going. So something, let's investigate, something is eating up the power. And I think again it's just a Krita there in the background stalling for some reason. Oh no, this, not you, Krita. You were my last hope of being productive on a computer, because this is usually what you get when you draw with Photoshop. You're just in the mood to do some art, and then Photoshop has an update, or Creative Cloud does an update, or suddenly a layer is blocked and it's doing exactly what Krita is doing, or then it crashes, and it's so hard to get into the flow when you're constantly working against the tool. And yeah. And oh, automated unicorn. How topical of you to install Linux in a Raspberry Pi and put it in the oven. Yeah, this is not good. I probably cannot salvage what I just did here. I mean, I could take a screenshot of this and hopefully use this as a reference. Believe it or not, this is sometimes what I did with, or sometimes that's production art that I used, is when Photoshop was crashing, I thought, oh no, hit screenshot, and at least I have, yeah, a screenshot of what I did. But yeah, this is, oh, do you want to save it? Yes, please. Waiting for the image to complete. Save without waiting. Okay, apparently something, let's call this button B version 2. No, then button B version 3. Something apparently is, Krita is waiting on something, and I don't know what it is. So if I hit cancel, could not save, image is busy, show details. Yeah, its image is busy, thank you for the details. When I hit escape, I mean, what is going on here? Filter color adjustment. If I don't allow the filter of color adjustment to complete and then maybe hit save. Okay, we've at least figured out that it's busy. Can we figure out why it's busy? Is there, I don't know, a way to tell? Show Krita log for bug reports. Yes, please. Krita version something. Krita, what is going on? Failed to lock the image. No export configuration. It would be nice if it said here available styles, Vista, non-store package, creating update or importing Adobe Photoshop. Maybe this is to do something with it. Relocation, batch mode 0. And 4 minutes later, I think this is what we're trying, is saving documents. So I can't see what the problem is. Not Krita, please, not Krita. You can see here the busy cursor that we're experiencing. Something is going on about Krita, about KDA. Is there, Krita, do you have a task manager of whatever you're doing? Report bug, log, system information for bug reports. Anything there? Well, no, this is just what it supports and my different screens. That's not helping. But can I say document information? Is there something? Ah, no. Something about failing to lock an image in the log. Let's see again. So you spotted something. Loaded image, or was it export configuration? Failed to initiate saving. Yeah, failed to lock and clone the image because something is going on in the background. Yeah, I think this was, I just thought it would tell me what it's currently doing. Is there autosave? A tilde file? Good question. Looks like there is. The question is from when? Yeah, that's 2 weeks ago. That's also from some afternoon. So, and this one, yeah, is also from June. Ah, dear. Apparently it is a common enough problem and I can't see any solutions other than just people saying to update. Okay, try saving a copy outside of Dropbox and work on a copy. So you mean it might be Dropbox? Because I think the problem is it still thinks it's busy because I used here the curves. Maybe if I try to use the curves again, it's waiting for the operation to complete. Okay, so update. So which version do I have of Krita? I'm running 5.2.9. So maybe there's a newer version out there. It's 5.2.11. That's good to know. So just update then. Portable. Yeah, you know what? Let's just let it crash. Because at least what I did was not draw the next Mona Lisa or something. It's just I made a button brighter. I think I can do this again. So where is Krita? Where does this fucker come from? Where does Teams come from? Mobile devices. I've never. I mean, it's disabled, but still, why? Christ Almighty. Okay, details. Krita. Good. Okay, so Krita is here, and what I'm usually having is I have here. You probably cannot see this, how I launch my programs. So the tired way of launching programs is to use here the good old start menu and recent items and so on and so forth. What I've been running since 2004 or 3 maybe is this thing here called the True Launch Bar, and the cool thing about it is you can of course customize it to your heart's content, and it even has here these kinds of plugins like Drive Space or speed fan, uptime, and even here a turn off computer button. I don't know, that I'm not using anymore. The cool thing about this is that I also can have this, for example, this menu here in my Dropbox. So when I have synced my Dropbox and am on my notebook computer, for example, since most of these programs link to something that is in my Dropbox anyway, I can just, when I change an icon here, I also don't have to worry about my other computer. So this is why it syncs there. And when I go here to Krita, you see it's in my Dropbox under Apps Portable, and it's here in version latest. So the cool thing about this is now that all I need to do is, here in Krita, I just override whatever is in Krita. Under latest, just put it there. And one thing I do for myself is I note down which version I'm running on, or what is the latest version. So this is why here this version.txt is there. So I have to just wait for this. And the cool thing again is once my Dropbox syncs, all it's updated on my notebook, on my other computer. Should I use this? As long as the Dropbox syncs, everything is I only need to do this once. That's the thing. Ah, dear. So replace all 3000 files. And yeah. Yeah, if it's a Photoshop file that is locked, maybe Dropbox or Explorer is locking it. Yeah, I don't think the file was locked. It was the process in Krita of doing the curves. I didn't launch Krita, but thank you. So the file itself was not locked, because if the file is locked, it's different. It's a different problem. Because then, of course, it would tell me it couldn't save the file, but it could not save the file because Krita was still busy with the file. At least this is how I understood it. So yeah, this version.txt file, this is, I keep myself up to date so that I know which version I'm running. Because I also have here a archive of my old software. Which is, it now takes a while because this is on my SAN, because I've had it a couple of times now that when I wanted to open up an old file, for example, a Studio Max file from 2004, that of course I needed Studio Max from 2004, and it's super hard to track down a version that works. And this is why I have here my old software, and whenever I update something, in this case Krita, I just put it here under non-archived, apps portable, image editing, well, that is editors, probably should spell it correctly, and Krita, and I have the same file structure mirrored in my old software archived. So this is all the software that I archived, and there we have image editing, editors, and oh, apparently it's not editors then. It's probably painting. There we go, painting. So I haven't archived Krita, it looks like. Interesting. Is it editors? Materialize, greenfish, viewers, painting, screenshotting. Oh, did I have it? Now I'm a little bit concerned about what I did. Anyway, so again, I make sure that whatever I'm installing, that at some point I still have it somewhere that I can go back to it. So let's try it with the new Krita. Limbonaut says, lol, we used to download our own malware, but now Windows installs it on its own. Exactly. And I remember how furious I was with Cortana and trying to disable it. And now Cortana is the least of my problems that I have with Windows. Teams is harder to get rid of than some parasites. Indeed. The same is, yeah, with Windows Copilot or Windows Recall or whatever they want to stuff down our throats. I'm just so sick of it. It feels like that no one is looking out for you as a customer anymore, especially these big-ish corporation. Everyone is just looking out for maximizing shareholder value and just in German we say the riding the sow that is driven through the town square this time. So whatever is just current, and everyone is who doesn't really have an idea, but just venture capital is excited with. It was crypto, NFT things, and now it's AI. So everyone is telling the corporations they're invested in, hey, everyone is doing AI. Why aren't you, refrigerator company, doing something with AI? And they say, of course, we're leveraging AI for our refrigerator business. And the shareholders go, oh, okay, so we're using AI too. So we are a future forward-thinking corporation then. And again, no one thinks, hey, what would be the best benefit for our customers? How can we make this product even better for our customers? No one. It feels like if you're using software, the joke's on you. You should be investing in the company that is pushing software. Anyway, here's the button again. Disease says SMH Tech is getting too handholdy nowadays. No one installs 200 different viruses the good old way anymore. Yeah, back then we did our own research. We had Napster, we had, I don't know, what was it? Kazaa, we had LimeWire, and we found our own viruses and they spread as nature intended. So, okay, before I'm trying anything now, let's try here. See this filter, this curves adjustment. I think this was the problem that that locked Krita. for some reason. So, right. What I wanted to do before returning to to the journal is just make this a bit brighter, and I used a different brush there. Used, yeah, here we go. Maybe the opacity, turn down the opacity and give it a bit of a sparkle now that it's hovered. Enshittification, yeah, that's the word, exactly. I mean, I feel like enshittification is just the common business practice nowadays. Again, it's first you have, I mean, what was the cycle of enshittification? First, you try to get a hold on the market by doing the thing that everyone expects or wants corporations to do. You have a service or a product that is useful to lots of people, is relatively cheap and a good value proposition, and people just start to adopt it because yeah, it's a good thing, right? It will never get better than this. It's like when Netflix back in the day had all the shows that you wanted to watch, or yeah, these kinds of things, or Photoshop was not subscription based or something. So and it was relatively affordable. And then of course venture capital gets in the way, and suddenly, okay, people are now depending on your software, so you can start tightening the thumb screws and make it a little bit less useful and a bit more expensive, because people are locked into your ecosystem now anyway. And then you just keep doing it and keep doing it, and when you pass the point where you cannot get any more value out of your customers, you try to get more value out of your what was it? Not the competition, but of your clients, right? Well, not clients. So essentially, as a user, you are. We've all heard this before. You are not the customer. You are the product of, let's say, Google or something, because the customers of Google are those it sells ads, or if you want to advertise on Google, then you're a Google customer, or on, I don't know, Twitter, what's left of it, right? So and as soon as you cannot squeeze the user base anymore, you start to squeeze your customers anymore. But at this point, your service is already going downhill. But as long as you find someone on the market to buy your company as a whole, and yes, that is a pun, then jokes on them, because you made a lot of bailout money essentially, and someone bought a company that is already on its way down, because there is not much more value that you can extract of either your user base or your customers anymore. And then you found the next big thing, and I feel like this is the current trend anymore, or at all, with so many things. Anyway, does this look like a highlighted button compared to this one? It really feels like, this is, it's hovered. Maybe it's a bit too grainy. No, it's fine. It's fine. I will try to save this now. Fingers crossed, and it's saved. Hallelujah. So the button is done. You know what? Probably. Or I saved it as Photoshop file. Never mind then. Thank you, Limbonaut. Thank you. And now I can return to my journal icon. And what was it that I wanted? I think, if I recall correctly, I wanted to make the spine a little bit darker. So where is my brush? Oh, it's so small. That is the problem, by the way. When your brush is a little bit too small, you see my mouse cursor here. It's up here, and as soon as I move into the painting, it's really it's 3 green pixels. I'm not sure if even you can see it there on the stream. So if you follow my mouse pointer downwards, suddenly it becomes 3 green pixels. So, and of course, when I'm zoomed out, I have no idea where my cursor is. So just change the brush. Oh yeah, here we are, all good. I think there probably could be some improvements to this. Okay, so finally, this is the spine of the book. So the light is coming there from the front. The spine is now a little bit too dark. What is wrong with me? So I think, yeah, that's a nice balance. So that's our default book. Let's lean further in. For example, here with the pages, they are pretty white, and maybe, I mean, probably should have put them on a different layer at the start, but you know what, never mind. Maybe I can still extract it here to have something like a magic wand. Yes, I have. And how can I set the magic wands? Option, there we go. Threshold 28. Let's try this. Because when I cut it out, I'm still missing these things here. So selection extend. What does this mean? Regions, similar color in the clicked region. Regions until a specific boundary color. Okay, use selection as boundary, anti-aliasing, grow. This I really like about Krita, that you have so much more finer granularity in all the tools. So I want to select this. Well, that maybe the threshold is a bit too high now. Oh, I have here grow selected. Maybe that was the problem. So if I cut this out now, it's not enough. If I cut this, it's too much. The threshold, turn down the threshold. It's too little. Yeah, this is why usually you should start out on different layers from the get-go. Anyway, you know what? I will cut this, and should I draw it again? Perhaps. Let's make a new layer. Paste it on that new layer. Paste into new image. No, paste as reference image. Paste into active layer. But where is it? To quote Duke Nukem. Please paste it. Did I just delete it? Oh, I cut it twice. First I cut it out, and then I cut the empty part. I think that was the problem. So new layer, paste, there we go. And now I'm just painting on this layer. The problem is all I want to draw in is just a bit of shadow here. As said, a bit of shadow here. Oh, the opacity is all the way down, like so that the book cover is casting a bit of a shadow there onto the pages. That's all I wanted. Let's zoom out. And yeah, this looks nice. This kind of looks nice. Then again, I mean, would there be a shadow from this side? Then we have two lights we need to account for. So maybe I can turn this down somewhat. As always, I'm as I'm over designing my games, I'm overthinking these drawings. Again, it's just for an icon, but I just want it to be nice and be happy with it myself. And this is, again, your own perfection is usually the biggest problem that you have to sort out at some point. But on the other hand is I learn a lot when I'm just trying to make things look nice, and when I need to draw this again at some point, I can make it look nicer, or at least I get faster to where I ever wanted to go. So let's give this journal some some more character. So for this, I pick a smaller brush. I mean, the brush is still the same, it's just a bit smaller. So this was a bit too small. Let's go with 12 pixels, something like this. And on a new layer, I can start drawing something that I want to have here on the title cover. For example, God, it's again super hard to figure out where your cursor is. But for one thing, I can have here some sort of, I don't know, embossing or engraving. And since I already have a similar thing going on all the text boxes, that's the cool thing. If you draw it yourself and don't rely upon AI to create you something like this, it's easy to match with what you already have. Again, it's just super hard to figure out where my cursor is, because again, even if I zoom in, you can see here, there you can see it, but against this color it's super hard, especially on 4K resolution. So drawing here, again, it's all I need to do is I'm trying to get the shape down, and since I can use the eraser and not the eraser, so I can really just inch slowly towards how I want it to look. So to quote Bob Ross, we're not making mistakes, we just have happy little accidents, and maybe one of the accidents actually looks kind of cool and nice, and we keep it for what it is, and then we have something that we wouldn't have had otherwise. So the next thing is, of course, now since we know where our light is coming from, I can draw in maybe some certain lines a bit stronger, which means, yeah, I told you before that you probably should rotate your canvas so that it's easier to draw straight lines, and this is, yeah, what I've been neglecting. So certain lines I draw stronger, and that implies they are casting a shadow. Straight lines are so hard, but of course if I use the line tool, they are too perfect, and this I also not like. So try, as always, trying to strike the balance between humanly made but also not shitty looking. So this would be the one edge, and here is the next one here on top. Would be this one here. Oh, straight lines, so hard. Also this one, I wanted to erase it. There we go. Yes, that's how you draw a straight line. So this part here I'm just sketching out a little bit, because this is actually where the light is hitting. So instead of what I did before, I just pick a lighter shade and use this to imply that, okay, this is a somewhat beveled edge that's picking up the light that is coming from our main light source. I hope you're not getting nauseated by my turning the canvas here. I try to keep it down as much as possible. So here again is the light hitting this edge. And when you draw this a bright edge on top of a dark edge, it looks much sharper, because it mimics what actually has been going on when you apply a sharpen filter on images. Because how does an image get sharper when there is not any more definition and you're not relying upon machine learning, for example, to just invent pixels? It sounds like it's so easy, but it just figures out what the edges are and creates a stronger contrast. So it takes one edge that is slightly defined and on its left, simplified of course, makes the pixels brighter. On its right, it makes the pixels darker, and suddenly there is more contrast to a certain edge and it feels a bit sharper. And you can also leverage this in your art. So when I zoom out and reset the rotation, look, this already has a certain depth to it, which is kind of nice. Again, it feels a bit too bland, so maybe we can come up with something more. I mean, we could have even, I don't know, metal clasps and fittings, and maybe I want to have some, let's have here some metal on the spine. So I just draw somewhere so that I know where, relatively speaking, where my cursor is, because I can't see it. So as we had here in the reference, it had some was it some sort of clasps or some bindings here on the spine, which I kind of liked. And in this case, they are made of a metal, so they are reflecting the surroundings. And it's kind of hard to know how the reflection should look like when you don't know what the surroundings are, especially when it's sitting in some abstract space as the inventory. So what is there in the inventory to reflect it? And my rule of thumb is usually to go against what the surrounding areas are. When you, for example, when I paint here some reflective metal, here in the spine, there is this gradient from light here to dark there. So essentially what I'm doing is, when there is something dark in my metal, it's a bit brighter, and when there's something bright, my metal gets a bit darker. So essentially it just contrasts what is there. And again, perceptually, this is usually how we figure out, or how we perceive something that is reflective or is of metal, because it's not adhering to the smooth shading or the diffuse shading of something, but it picks up light from somewhere else. And this is, again, simplified how we perceive it as being made of metal. So when I zoom out, you can see how that it's maybe a bit too much, because again, we don't know what our environment is, but we also know that it sits there on a surface. So it lies there. And of course, this means the surface itself, when I zoom out here, would be bright, like a very light table that is reflecting here off this clasp. So when I, just for demonstration's sake, when I say, okay, this here is the background, and when I zoom out, it makes sense that it reflects brightly here. So instead of what I've been just telling you to go brighter here, at a certain point we need to get darker anymore, because it's reflecting something where our brains or our common knowledge tells us it can't be brighter where there is no light. So at some point with those metal reflections, you have to go darker again. And I will try it like so, to pick up here and just have a very short but dark stretch, and same thing here. Just try and see how it looks, then I can make it look nicer. And it looks a bit better. So maybe I should draw the bright part there of the metal a bit further up, so that it, maybe we say it picks up brightness or the light from a window somewhere. So where are my colors? There's my color history. So instead, maybe we can say here, and then it goes brighter. Yeah, it looks like it's all over the place. Never mind then. So yeah, with gradients and brightness for metals, as you see, it's... Oh, thank you, Cursey Booth. Good idea. It's a lot of trial and error. With in the end, the good thing is, hopefully, your brain will tell you, yeah, this looks wrong. There's something off about it. The hardest part is figuring out what exactly, which part of it is the one that is off. And the only way, at least I found, of how to figure this out is just try things out. And hopefully remember what you tried and come back to it. So now I'm doing the good old inverse gradient. So we have here something that is brighter in the center and gets darker up and down. And again, this does not look right. So I will... Oh, I just mirrored it. Instead, I will start over and have another idea of how to do this. So how can I... Selection, disable, image... Yeah, let's just do it like this. So, I just thought of how cylinders have their reflections. And so this spine here of the book essentially is just half a cylinder. So as for cylinders, just very quickly, when you want a reflective kind of cylinder, so I make it here a bit bigger. Let's first start out with a cylinder that is diffuse. So this is the top, and this would be, well, maybe that's a bit too much. So this would be just a tube. And we say our light is coming from where it's coming from. So of course you have the side that is not exposed to the light is of course darker, and then you have here this smooth transition towards the light, right? So this would be, if this is a tube section, then roughly how it would behave if it were of a rough material. Of course, a little bit softer there, shaded, something like this. So, and for metals, for reflective metals, all these things you can consider this or feel it. Okay, essentially what we're seeing here is it reflects the environment with the light and everything, but just a very blurry version of it. Essentially, this is what a diffuse reflection is. It's just reflecting everything around it, but super blurry. So what is most important or most contributing to this is, of course, the light, where it comes from the side. And again, this is why this part is brighter there and everything else gets darker until the side not exposed to the light dark. I mean, we all know. And as for metals, suddenly this reflection, this super blurry reflection of your surroundings is now suddenly super sharp, or sharper as the diffuse reflection. So for this, if this were metal, let me try and draw it alongside. Or first I just lay the groundwork here, and a tube reflects, it's not a mirror. Let's say a cylinder or a tube is a mirror, but only in one dimension. So essentially it's just super stretched, the reflection that you get. So let me draw this here. So the light source, for example, on this tube is super sharp compared to what we had before. And if there is a window, of course, it gets stretched for the most part vertically. So maybe there is a window on this side as well. And oh, this is why I had such troubles. My opacity was all the way up. And then maybe there is a darker part there, but again, it got blurred out in this variant here. And then maybe we have a part where there's something more shady, and at the end is just a very faint light source that is much brighter. And of course the brightest light source we have on this side. And if we zoom out it, well, I could have made here the distinctions between those different parts a bit stronger, but essentially this is how a a metal reflection behaves. DC says, kind of like thinking in terms of surface normals, highlights only on the surfaces whose normal align with the observer or something. Exactly. I mean, if you have a background in graphics programming, and I mean, what is graphics programming other than trying to figure out how light behaves or how objects behaves to light? So this is, what is it called? Bidirectional normal surface reflection or something. It has this long as abbreviation, but essentially it's the light here on this surface here on the left. When I draw it, you probably have seen this. So assume that this surface here, we just paint as a cross section of it, and it looks like this. And the light is bouncing off it like this. So this would be on a metal, actually on this side here. But on the right, we have the surface essentially is super rough. So the light that reflects or touches upon it gets reflected internally in how in its surface, in its all crags and troughs and peaks there. So essentially, instead of having this one sharp highlight that comes out, we have many much softer highlights in different directions, but relatively around this point here. And how it is modeled, how this roughness is modeled, there are different ways of modeling this roughness. I mean, some older people already remember the Phong shading or the Blinn shading, which is not physically correct, but it just appears physically correct. So this is from the early days of 3D graphics, where it's just trying to simulate light that was computationally possible at some point. And nowadays, of course, we have physically based rendering, which really takes into account, okay, how much light is coming out of this light source and how much of it is being reflected. For example, with Blinn, you had a light source, or with Phong, and because you just had like two coefficients for the highlight, how sharp it would be and how bright it would be, essentially no one was stopping you that the light emitted from or reflected from your surface was brighter than the actual light surface whose light would be reflected, right? So long story short, we have now better models because we have better hardware back then. And what this means here for the reflection here for my clamps is essentially I'm just figuring out or trying to think of, okay, what kind of room is being here reflected and where the light sources are. So maybe here is a window on this side, but again, it stretches it all the way, this reflection here of the window, all the way along this implied tube. So the window would be bright, maybe even brighter. I mean, I had here some nice colors before, which, yeah, let's draw this new, because I don't want it to be this very same hue that is of this leather bound volume there. So instead I want it to be maybe a bit warmer, something like this. This could be, if it's slightly more yellow, this could be gold. If it's slightly towards green, it could be brass, depending on what we want. All I want is just that it's a slightly different color than we have. So hopefully my little aside in terms of rendering and everything made sense. That's really the cool thing is, I've said this before, I'm a trained photographer, and photography is especially as snobs say, is painting with light. But what it really taught me is how to think about light and where light is coming from and how it's being bounced around. And of course, this helped me when I started doing stuff with visual effects and 3D modeling and so on, especially with compositing. Because constantly you think about, okay, is this realistic? Why doesn't it look realistic? Where is the light coming from? How is this light being bounced around? And all these considerations. And I mean, it's been haunting me ever since. Sometimes when I'm bored and I'm sitting, I don't know, in a waiting room somewhere, and I'm just looking at at magazines with big ads, and then I start just taking them apart and think, okay, this part here is taken from a different stock photo because the reflection doesn't match the other one, or here this shadow looks to be painted on, and so on and so forth. It's a blessing, but mostly it's a curse. So this would be now my metal, the base color of the metal itself. So let's make my opacity a bit, let's make it less, but the size a bit bigger. And so now I'm just painting in where there is no light hitting. So essentially here at the bottom is probably not much being reflected, then maybe there is a bit more. And here towards there might already be the cover not being reflected. And if we look at this, okay, granted it doesn't look perspectively correct, but it looks like there is some sort of metal going on here. And if I just emphasize this slightly more, yeah, now this looks like metal. Again, not really perspectively correct, because this would be too easy if it were. So yeah, I just need to figure out how to make this look a bit more correct. But I will save it for now so that I can return to it. And I think, oh, the opacity needs to go all the way up, but I think it's just something like so. Does this look better or worse? So when I duplicate this, did I just duplicate it? Oh, or did I? Oh no, is Krita? Did I kill Krita again? I mean, it's still responsive somewhat. I just heard my fans going up again. What you've done looks nice so far to me. Oh, thank you, Kersey. So again, I think the problem is that I'm using Photoshop shortcuts again. So what is happening here? Okay, there is something weird going on, but now I think, yeah, you see here this bucket drawing algorithm, something is kind of fishy. So instead of freehand moving selection, I create here a selection myself and then move this around. Hopefully. No. Waiting for image operation to complete. Are you kidding me? It's the same thing again. For some reason I have the ability to just make Krita die on me. So, okay, Kersey says it looks nice. Thank you. And now since we have here the basic appearance of this clasp, it's not a clasp, it's just a metal something. Let's make this 3D. Right now it looks like it's super flush with the spine here, but let's give it a bit of a, yeah, of a bevel, of a depth. And for this I can do what I did just now and only draw in here the edges. And since also the edges could be a bit bigger, is made of metal, we can also make it reflective in some way. Oh, I mean, since it should stand out a little, like so that it has this slight extrusion against the background. Probably should have done this before. So now here I can also draw some sort of gradient here. It's just an implied gradient, of course. And when I zoom out, it has a bit more depth to it. Maybe I can have here this sharp edge this darker edge. Maybe I can turn it down, or tone it down, not turn it down. Tone it down a bit. Like so. And I mean, it almost looks a bit like too reflective. I mean, if this were your journal and you were to lug it around or carry it with you all the time, this clasp or whatever wouldn't be as pristine. So maybe I can just imply there's some reflection to it. And the other thing is, because I have here this super hard edge, it looks super sharp, like you could cut your finger on. So I just want to bevel this a little bit. And this is also something that I've learned working with 3D models and Maya. You want to avoid super hard edges for the most part, because these things don't look too realistic. And also these beveled edges, again, they reflect light and work off what is here in the scene. So if I zoom out now, it looks much softer. And underneath we can go a bit darker. So it looks a bit softer than there. Maybe on this side we also, of course, on the other side have this beveled edge going on. Maybe if here's some, when I go brighter at the very corner, it looks like there is some sort of light coming from there, from behind. It doesn't make sense on this part here where it's just sitting on an implied table, but I just keep it, see if it looks good. In the end, it's also about legibility, so that if you look at it, yeah, this bright corner here, I mean, it makes no sense, but it defines the shape very much of this. So if I give this here a bit more of a gradient, so then it implies that it's catching some bright reflection from the table there. Looks good, actually. And now I can do the cheap thing and just duplicate the layer and move it down and hope that it still works. Did I duplicate it? No, I did not. So if I just move it over here, ta-da! Somehow it looks. No, it's good. It's fine. It's fine. I will save this now again, and maybe, you know, these old books with their old bindings, maybe they also have some kind of embossing in their leather there at the spine, and maybe I can give it some more of that. Again, it's as with so many things, when you're doing art or 3D, or you just come up with things and models, it's always the implied details that there are, because details are super unthankful, because you spend usually lots of time making them, and in the end no one's going to notice them, only that there's a lot of detail in this area. And I mean, if someone thinks there's a lot of detail in this particular area of the artwork, chances are they're already an artist, right? Most people will think exactly nothing of it, as it should, because it will just feel correct or feel good or feel plausible. It's like when you look at the Star Wars spaceships, they're so cluttered with lots of little things that are on its surface, right? And when it feels like it's just too much for you to really latch onto anything consciously, but overall it feels like this is a very detailed spaceship, and it looks realistic for that. And in the end, this is usually what also you want to do with 3D models. You just want to have, at some point I call it unnecessarily detailed things. So just that it looks correct, it looks nice. Kirsty says, my book Binding Friends is not available, but Google results suggest that the metal band used to be for covering the sewing of the book's binding cords or something, I think. My God, this again, when I've learned something today. That's cool. I didn't know that this is necessary, but I mean, of course it is. It makes sense that, I mean, nothing is, I mean, I would hope so. Nothing is ever done without reason, even if the reason is because it looks nicer that way. So again, I'm just implying here some reflections on whatever is going on here. And when we zoom out, it looks like there is something, something going on this side of the book. It's probably, it doesn't look symmetrical. I mean, symmetry is another big thing. You want symmetry on one hand because it looks pleasing. On the other hand, if it's too perfect, it looks boring. But if it's not perfect enough, it looks wrong. So if you want to have symmetry but cannot for the life of you get it correct, then make it really stand out asymmetrical, so that it doesn't look like, someone tried to have symmetry there, but for some reason they couldn't do it. So instead you want to make it intentional. So this is asymmetric, and I'm not trying even to hide it. DC says, it also increases damage potential in a pinch. Knowledge is a power, truly. Yeah. Damage potential. So maybe this embossing and beveling that I did here is a bit too much again. My God, it's with art, it's always going back and forth. So if I try and paint over it and diminish it slightly, that it doesn't look as deep embossed. And this one here in the middle, this is some sort of connecting thing. So this, I feel like, could be could benefit from being a bit more shaded. Sorry, when I'm painting, I'm losing. Yeah, now it falls exactly into this trap of, is this now in the center or it's not quite centered? So what is this thing? Why is it here? This doesn't look right or doesn't make sense. Yeah, I think the shallow embossing looks very nice. Okay, good. Yeah, shallow, that was the word. It's not as deep. But I think maybe I overdid it. And if I just say 48%, and this thing here that I drew here, nope, this here in the center, where I said this would look totally nice. You know what? No, it doesn't. It does not. It makes no sense. I remove it, and thus it works much better. But for some reason, I figure that maybe I should redraw this. I feel like my perspective, I mean, this is isometric perspective, and I'm drawing this without guides mostly, which is painfully apparent. So let me start over, and first I draw some guides for this. So the guide would be whatever angle this here is. I'm just going to copy this and see. Even here on the book, I didn't quite keep here this angle. That's why I felt like it looked a little bit off. Yeah. See, this is when you can't draw perspective correctly, use guides. Please use guides and use them while you work on it and not after. Oh dear. So if this goes up slightly further, like so, and the book itself is here, okay. I mean, I can make the guide. Let's have a sip of water. Sorry, I'm already making mouth noises. The guide isn't full parallel, or am I losing my mind? This is why I want to draw it first again. It's not full parallel, but let's say 90% parallel. Where is my guide? Here is my guide. So if I move it up here, it's not fully parallel. You're absolutely right. And I want to draw it with a finer brush as well. So let's use here white. Have it here 1 pixel and really make sure. Yeah. I duplicate this now 3 times so that it's super crisp and super white. So yeah, now this should be my guide now for the book. Yeah, this is why it looked off. Look, look at how wrong the cover is. And yeah. Also down here, this part, I mean, this could work, but up here it does not. So let's put this into a group. Guides X and guides Y. And the Y guides, the wise guys, the Y guides, I shall draw now, which is the same thing. Let's make this 2 pixels. That's funny. When I want to click into it and enter a value, it won't let me. But what happens when I use the stylus, suddenly when I long click, then this happens and I can't get out of it. That's Windows Ink for you, by the way. So let's have this line here as well and see how this holds up. So again, same problem. I'm using the guide only for the base plate here, of the base of the book. And not anywhere else. And this is why it looked weird. Wonderful, wonderful. Is this perspective or orthographic? It is orthographic because the rectangle here on the ground, the dark one, this is a rectangle that I just skewed and then rotated. So it should not be perspective. In perspective, yeah. DC says, lol, put some scorch marks in the end and just say it's burned. That's why the cover is shorter. Boom, solved. Yeah, that is creative problem solving. This is why I used many times lens flares where something was off in my visual effects compositions, where they just put a lens flare or a glow or a blur on top of it, where I just said, yeah, just don't look there. There's nothing there. Just brightness, just to gloss over these kinds of things. Because sometimes, especially when time is of the essence and you do some rendering, and of course, in the rendering process, something goes wrong and you do not have time to fix it, to re-render it, and then it's, yeah, we will fix it in compositing, don't worry about it. And this is how sometimes you stretch something, or you retime the 3D render. So yeah, I've learned that hardly ever you can use what comes out of Maya as is. Usually you just tweak a little bit there, and I mean, this was 10-15 years ago, so I don't know how it is nowadays. Probably whatever you render looks perfect, and you just do a little bit of contrast in compositing, throw on some particle plates, and you're done. Kirsty says, ooh, nice idea. Aging the book could be either way. Could be cool either way. Yes, since in the game I say, yeah, this is your journal. You've been carrying it with you always, and you want to note down your cool joke ideas. And then there's in the game there's only one joke stop in there, and it starts something with, I don't know, a priest and a rabbi go into, and then you can put on your own notes or something. Probably a better joke. So let's lock the guides first, and yeah, the fittings I disable now, and now, yeah, this I can also disable. And yeah, probably I should go back into the actual book and fix things now. I don't know for how much long I will be streaming today, because as you know, not my most active day, but I mean, drawing and painting is always fun. So let's fix things. There we go. So this would be here the cover. So I'm sticking relatively close to my guide, and have here again aging the book and aging things. This I think is the most fun when you're doing 3D art or drawing textures or something. Is I tend to go overboard with 3D models. When something needs to look a little bit aged, you overdo it. At least it happens to me that I tend to overdo it. But then again, with since CGI usually looks too clean anyway, I've heard one VFX supervisor tell me back then, it's better to be overly dirty than to be too clean, because cleaning things up is much easier anyway. So you just disable the scorched layer in Photoshop on your texture, re-render it, and put it on top with 50% opacity or something like that, and you're fine. Wrong. So if I just keep the shape here more to the reference, hopefully we should get to a point where it will look correctly or much better from the get-go than we've had before. Yeah, always set up your guides before drawing, and don't use them to verify that what you drew is correct, because at least, I mean, there are many artists who do not struggle with this at all, but it's just your humble pixel guy here. Hi, it's me, Pixel Prophecy. I'm sorry, I'm new to this. Narrator, no, he wasn't. I've never done this before. Narrator, yes, he did. So this should be parallel to the outline that I've set. Again, I'm drawing it at a much larger size than I need. Look at this. Yeah, this looks much better. This looks much better. Now, of course, I need to also reflect this here in the pages that you can see. Bring me the blue pages. Does anyone recognize this horrible impression from what game? It's been a while since I played this. In the voice of Kevin Brighting. I have no idea who that is. So now that I have here the layer separation, it's a bit easier to draw this here correctly. Stanley Parable Narrator. Oh, of course. Stanley decided to take the left door, because there was nothing else when he took the right door, and certainly not something in the closet. Oh, Stanley Parable. I only played the original back then, but of course, since the DLC that I've heard was I mean, I bought the DLC where it's the DLC is slowly taking over the original game. I think that's part of the joke. I really have to look into this again. But Stanley Parable, my God, this really, I mean, if you come up with something like this game, it's I mean, oh damn it, I'm not deleting, I'm painting over it. So what I meant to say is, when you come up with something like this Stanley Parable, probably you're on a good track overall. Because I don't know anyone who did not enjoy the Stanley Parable. Probably because I only know good, cool people. So the guides... Yeah, I do need the guides, never mind that. So let's switch them back on. It's okay if it's not too perfect, it just shouldn't look a bit, shouldn't look too spotty. And as always, the undo button. When I do occasionally my oil paintings, it's so apparent that I've grown so much used to being able to undo anything. This looks, I mean, it's very plain and simple now, but this looks so much better. All versions are amazing of the Stanley Parable. Yes, agreed. And Bring Me the Blue Pages is from the original Myst. I think it was Akanar, or what was the other name? Sirius. The two brothers that were locked up in the book. They constantly kept pestering you to bring them the red pages. No, but Akanar was the blue pages. So yeah, this brown cover here at the bottom at some point also maybe benefits from some shading. Like thus. It's just for a simple icon, and I can, as you see, obsess for hours over it. Yes, good. Then there's another check that I urge you to do, and that is changing the background color. Because, for example, in this case here, I see that I haven't been fully opaque there when painting the book, which is not that big of a problem, but it can be. For example, when you look at things like these little, in German we call it flashes, because if you change the background, it jumps at you like it's a flash. So usually I just do duplicate and merge down once, and hopefully this, yeah, should have taken care of things. But yeah, always change the background color, because you get easily or very much used to how you perceive your artwork with a certain color. And of course, it's always good to look at the same things but with fresh eyes. So let's take care here of that horrible spine. So the automated unicorn Googles something obscure. Join the club, automated unicorn. And what I usually like at the ending, but let's do it also here, is giving something here like these rim light, these edges, as if there were a light illuminating it from the side, just to make it read better against the background. Again, if you check it, if you have a dark background or something, then this really benefits from. Also, it looks like there's some more beveling going on, and as I said before, it's always good to imply that there is more light that's being bounced around your world, because it's your world. You can do anything that you want, as Bob Ross always says, but of course usually you want to restrict yourself to things that also look good, or or look coherent. I mean, of course, it depends on what kind of art you make. If it's abstract art, please, all bets are off. But in my case, I'm infected by the flaw of realism, or at least plausibility. And again, as I've lined out now multiple times, is I'm a fan of light and how light bounces around and what light does and the effects that light has or produces on our vision. So again, I'm making here something that is a bit brighter and then contrast it with something that's a bit dark, and hopefully this makes sense when we look at it in thumbnail size. Yeah, the guides are throwing me off. Where is my mouse? Oh no, oh no, oh no, please. There is my mouse. Oh no. I cannot do anything. Oh no, when was the last time that I've saved? This is not good. Oh no. Now that I'm at a point where I thought, yeah, this is looking nice. But apparently, Krita is thinking differently. Oh, okay, we're back. We're back in action. We're back in action. Let's save. Okay, it's saved. It's saved. There is the little asterisk is gone. Oh, that was a close call. But what is this here? What does this mean? Oh, I didn't put in a number. All good. All good. This is like psychological torture. Krita being mean to it. Yeah, probably it was just a user error on my part. So if I deactivate the guides and maybe also remove here this little arrow where the light is coming from, because now the artwork should make it clear where the light is coming from. Please don't draw arrows to imply where the light is coming from. Yeah, talking about things where the light is coming from, I don't like the spine, the shading on the spine for now, but it's now that the geometry is a little bit better than before, I think this is something that can be worked. Yes, and the rest is just doing this embossing, this making it look a little bit older, and maybe implying at something in between the pages. This is really something that I enjoy. It's just drawing little triangles there, so it feels like, yeah, something was caught between the pages. There is something more going on. So if let's make here the size a bit smaller, like this. Here I'm drawing. Okay, could be a bit bigger. So let's say 4 pixels. Where am I drawing? Okay, here. When you have something like this, so that it feels like some pages are a bit stronger than others or more used than others, and maybe have things like this here where something sticks out, something was caught between the pages and is casting a shadow. So if I zoom out, it has a bit more character, I feel. Like so. Maybe it's a bit too much. Crazy how much realistic it looks when the proportions are right. See, yeah, that's the thing. that's really the worst thing, is as soon as you figure out something looks wrong. And I think, as you said, it's the proportions, especially again when you try to do something that should live in an implied world. in my this is a very roundabout way of saying, if you have a grid where all the objects are aligned to the grid, if it be in perspective or isometric or even head on, and if one thing is not aligned to this grid, it really sticks out. And no matter how beautifully you may shade it, if the shape is wrong or out of this reference, then suddenly it will always feel wrong. And the next step, of course, is trying to get the lighting and the shading right. And this again is something that can take way too long. I mean, it's been taking me way too long today. But then again, is it really bad if you have fun doing it? And this is also why I say Bob Ross has the joy of painting. I have the pain of painting, because unlike Bob Ross, to me it always feels like I'm figuring things out while I'm drawing most of the time. And I mean, as Bob famously did it, he had like 3 paintings. One was for reference. So this one painting he painted, this would be his reference. That would be off camera when he was doing his show. The second painting was the one he painted live on the show. And the third painting was some sort of refined version of it that he didn't have to paint in 20 minutes. That would be for art catalogs or something. Or look, these are the paintings that were painted in the show. So a bit of more shading here, and I think if I keep this kind of shade, then I can imply a bit more of the embossing there. Bob Ross didn't have Adobe. This is why he finished paintings in 20 minutes. He also didn't have Krita terrorizing him, fortunately. That is true. I mean, good old Bob did not need an undo key anyway, so that's really good for him. I'm beholden to all the modern staples that modern software has, such as the undo feature. This really, sometimes when you work with some weird as proprietary software and tools, and things don't have an undo feature, it feels like, oh god, someone just not strangled you. Someone bound one of your arms behind your back and said, now you need to juggle or something. And it's amazing how certain, also with games, how certain fixtures are expected as a player. And again, this brings us back to why I'm doing so much for this game. Again, I want it just to feel that it feels like a proper game with a title screen, and when you close the game it auto saves, and when you restart the game it picks up where you were last in the game without having you to manually save and load and everything, and all these sorts of things. And again, the same is true for software. You want an undo feature, you want maybe a cloud save, you want maybe the ability, to copy and paste things, and Kirsty says, Phil has painted on stream before, some happy accidents, but it went okay. But every time it feels like, oh god, I don't know what I'm doing, I hope it turns out well. And I've made lots of art and paintings, but it never feels like I fully know what I'm doing. And for example here, I don't like what is happening here with this edge here, because here in front it looks good. Here it becomes way too thick and just feels like, this is not made out of individual parts, but this is just one big massive block that of varying thickness. So again, I just painted, of course, over it. So again, this is something that I probably will come back to and play around with, because that's your own perfectionism. That is the worst to shake. Because when I could probably do this better, then I usually come back to it and will do it better. And so probably the lesson here is, don't try to become too good, because then you notice more things that you feel like you could be doing better. So as soon as I will never be better than, the stick figure that I just drew, then you're free of your own perfectionism. So probably we'll need to maybe make this have the pages here a bit thicker. Then I can take out a bit here of the book. Something like this. Yeah, I don't know yet. And this is only the drawing of the closed book. But talking of closing things, I've been streaming for over 3 hours now, and somehow I think I've dove through my initial exhaustion. So, but still, I think I'm on a path of diminishing returns here. But the lesson that we've learned today is use guides before to start painting, and not as confirmation that what you did was correct, because it wasn't, at least in my case. I'm always so amazed when I see people just freehand draw in their notebook on paper. Again, another thing where I feel like, I really wish for an undo function here, and it's just looks great. But in the end, as always, it comes down to practice. This I really learned the hard way when I was in studying art and had my master's degree in there. And of course, everyone there in this art college and university, everyone was an artist. And I remember in some boring lecture, I just painted and drew in my notebook, and I was very happy with it. And then I looked around me and everyone else was drawing, and it was so much better. And then I just closed it. And yeah, I'm always amazed when people just have put in all the hours that they can draw it as where it feels so effortless. Because this is another thing that Frank said when he was here. When something looks effortless, it usually took a lot of effort to get there. So yeah. Wonderful. Right, so enough of Krita pestering me today. At least, I mean, in the end, we didn't lose much, and I still have the screenshot of the button that hopefully I do not need. But yeah, somehow thank you for reminding me to just update Krita and have it be more stable. Again, Krita is a great program, and I love it much more than Photoshop. I just need to adjust for some of its peculiarities. Right, DC said, could you maybe thin out the part where the back connects to the flaps, if you pardon the terminology, sort of like this. Oh, let's have a look. Right. Yes, I know what you mean. Yeah, exactly. It's this part here, right? That is wrong. But thank you for the reference, because I like what's happening here with these little ornaments there. You know what? I will save this as a reference. Again, another thing that I did not do today was gather references before to starting to paint, because afterwards you feel like, oh, I should have done this. Oh, this looks so much better. So thank you. The downside is with references is like when you write something with research, because research is never over, and there are still more references to be found and still more research to be done. So at a certain point, you just need to say, okay, cut off point. I'm not looking any further. I need to get this started. Otherwise, you will never start. So thank you. This helps. Maybe we should have a Bob Ross night where we try to follow Phil. You know what? I think at some point one of my first joy of painting things was where I invited everyone to paint along. And because I did not practice the painting before, and again, I was just figuring it out as I went along, it didn't go over well. So I think, you know what, maybe we could do this, but again, I probably need to do it like Bob. I need to do a practice painting, then use that as a reference. So essentially also paint it like 3 times, that I can paint it on stream together with you, and everyone can hopefully follow along with Krita, and then we use the same brushes and good old phthalo green and titanium white, and maybe then we can together beat the devil out of our styluses. I mean, this sounds like fun. Maybe one day. Draw along. Curious, says Cursibu. Yes. Draw along. That's a Pixel Prophecy draw along. Of course, what this means that, of course, everyone has the same hardware. So probably then I would be doing things with a mouse, because I can't expect everyone having one of these fine things here. Oh God, it's so worn out. so scratched the surface. But again, this has been my trusty Wacom. I think I only had like 2 different Wacom tablets, and this was my second one. And this is again decades old now, but it still works, and I love it. Anyway, so probably I can only say it's a draw along if you also have a graphics tablet, which again, I maybe need to do a survey to see how many of you would what your hardware is to do this. Or we could just play Jackbox drawing game. You know what? I think this is easier, because then you can play on your phone and it's easier to draw with your finger on your phone. Or maybe we can do both. Or we follow Phil, Bob Ross, an art game of telephone. Oh, this would be... Duh. Kirsty says, I want to buy a tablet. From my experience, and I don't have much, I would say either a Microsoft Surface tablet with a stylus. So those are the Surface Pros. I've had good experiences with them. Granted, I only got all the Surface tablets that I had were refurbished ones. The downside of this was that, Windows and a mobile thing. So always at some point Windows would start updating in the background, and suddenly your paint strokes would start to get choppy or super unresponsive. But if it works, Krita on the Surface tablet works great. Of course, if you're looking for just a tablet, if you can get an old Wacom. With Wacom so far, I've only had a good... experiences with. The cool thing about Wacom is the stylus. You do not need this one does not need a battery. This is super lightweight, and you can change the nibs. So and also with many drivers, you can even use the tip on the back as eraser, which is very cool. So I'm having the Intuos 4. And I think you can get some of these kind of cheaply, because I feel like those are indestructible. Again, the only things are that the downsides are, I mean, this is still the good old USB mini plug. So you of course you need to have a cable for this, and with under Windows 11 there is no official driver support. With the Open Tablet driver, as you've seen, it works kind of flawlessly. The only thing is certain features like here, this ring menu, I don't think I got it to work in Windows 11. And also the middle mouse button I did not get. But overall, the build quality so far, they're kind of indestructible. So hopefully it helps a little bit. DC says, I used to have a cheap Huion and it was pretty good for the price. Yeah, like I said, my experience is only with Wacom and I'm used to them. But of course, I mean, there once was a Cherry tablet, but this was also like 10-12 years ago, and this one was pretty horrible. A friend at the university, just out of curiosity or out of novelty, we just tried to paint with it, and you could see that the resolution was so bad that you could feel like you were making a circle, and it would show the little grid, make a little grid out of it. I mean, maybe for pixel art. But yeah, I was thinking a basic Wacom Intuos. Yeah, maybe eBay or whatever classifieds you find. I don't think they are that expensive anymore, because there are so many newer models. So even if it's from my experience, the Intuos 4 works with a slight features that don't work, but what's important is the precision of the stroke and the pressure, and from that, yeah, with Wacom, never had bad experiences. Right. And with that, after a short time of 3 hours and 37 minutes, I say thank you, everyone. Apparently, I'm super awake now. Thank you, coffee. I still have my last sip of coffee. Probably it was a bad idea to drink coffee, because it's now 40 minutes past midnight, and at some point I should be sleeping. Anyway, thank you, Kirsty Boo, for all the water that I drank. I will not drink one now because nature calls. I need to finish this stream. Again, thank you, everyone, for being here, for doing game dev with me, for looking at guides, and me despairing that I should have used them earlier. As always, I've learned something, so thank you for sharing and posting. DC says, it was a load of fun as always, everyone. Again, if it was loads of fun of me going, oh god, I should have done this differently, then I'm happy. So yeah, hopefully my game will go into beta at some point. So if any of you are interested, I probably will post it on the Discord and on Patreon. So yeah, since March I've been 2 weeks away from beta, but maybe it's true at some point. Yeah, I will keep you posted. Until then, thank you everyone. Have a wonderful week and see you next Sunday. So that is 8 days from now. Until then, Pixel Prophecy out. Take care.